Hey, good afternoon, everybody. 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson. I am your friend and radio buddy, and this is The Drive for the 4th day of August, 2023. We're just glad that you're with us on this Friday. We're going to try to get you home so you can start your weekend and have some time with family, and maybe along the way you will learn a few things. I am just really excited about the outcome of the mayoral election. I mean, we don't have a mayor yet, but I do think it's very interesting to see how it all broke down, and it's really going to be a choice between Freddie O'Connell and Alice Raleigh, who's positioned herself as a conservative in the race. But I mean, honestly, if you make this a race, and I'll talk about this here in just a minute, but if you make this a race about changes that need to happen in Davidson County, I think that there is a great deal of dissatisfaction among people who live in Davidson County with the way they are governed. What was weird about it is they continued to hire the same people over and over and over again, and don't do anything to fix their situation. Here is an opportunity, I think, to radically change the dynamic in Davidson County, Nashville. So we'll be talking more about that. I really haven't talked about the mayoral race simply because, it really doesn't matter till you get to the playoffs. So here we are. We're in the playoffs, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. We got some news about border. And of course, because it is Friday, let me just go ahead and get this out of the way. At 4:35 and 5:35, as always, we'll have a couple of different rounds of Phone Your FARB Friday, where anything goes within reason, because it is a family show. And so we'll do that. And so, what I'm going to say to you is get your thoughts in order. I want you to be succinct. I want you to be powerful. I want you to express yourself eloquently, unlike your host from time to time. All right, so here we go. What do I want to talk about first? Well, I think we are still sort of looking at what happened yesterday with this appearance by Trump, where he was arraigned on charges regarding January 6th. And I have told you, and I believe this to be true, maybe one of the weakest cases that I've seen in some time. I don't think there's any there. And I'm just gonna play a little thing here for you. I mean, if the allegation is that Donald Trump used his bully pulpit to try to overturn the election using his speech, and look, you'll have to prove in a court of law, and I don't know how you do this, that he actually was saying these things even though he didn't believe them. In other words, he believed he lost, but he was going to go ahead and make the case that he won. Well, that's the only way this thing has any chance at all. But let's just talk for a moment about that standard of using your words to make a case. Isn't that what were you covered by in the First Amendment? I think it is. And if Donald Trump is going to get in trouble for that, then what about all these Democrats? This is put together by the RNC research wing, and it goes for 20 some odd minutes. I'm just going to play a little bit of it. These are Democrats who have done the same thing that the case alleges against Donald Trump, used their words to suggest that the outcome of an election wasn't valid.
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's the real
what I'm
thing.
scared about in 2020.
But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate? Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
Russia interfered with our election, attacked our democracy for the sole purpose of artificially placing someone at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They were successful.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president-elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
I don't see this president-elect
as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do.
We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians and may in fact not be a legitimate president.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object because people are horrified.
He's an illegitimate president.
John Lewis is completely right. There is a cloud of illegitimacy around the election.
I mean, this goes on, and this goes on, and this goes on. And where were the lawsuits claiming that the Democrats were acting inappropriately and using their words to talk about an illegitimate election?
Do you believe Trump is illegitimate president?
What I believe is that there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by the Russian interference.
And see, that's the other thing. I mean, it's all about Russia, 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 which we turned out to be nothing, nothing, nothing. We know that was, in fact, when Hillary Clinton says that Trump was not legitimate, as you hear on this this thing that goes on and 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 on, is when you hear Hillary Clinton say it, she knew it was BS. She knew it was total BS. Because the whole idea of Russian collusion was cooked up by her campaign with her full understanding and knowledge. And you really, I mean, if you want to get angry, I get angry at this. They held that over Donald Trump for the better part of 3 years. 3 years, they kept saying he's illegitimate, Russia, 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 collusion, 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 which turned out to be BS, BS, BS. There wasn't anything to it. So, that tells me that there is a double standard at play here. Nobody ever thought about bringing a case against Hillary Clinton, although I think they should. I mean, I think that's reprehensible politics. But nonetheless, there was all of this Democrat whining about an illegitimate election. Trump does the same thing. He ends up in a court of law facing 4 charges. I think that it's an impossible case for Jack Smith to win, although he could win it in the District of Columbia if there is no change of venue. He might have a chance in the appeals court, but I said yesterday, what did I say? It's ultimately, when it gets to the Supreme Court, he will be victorious. But how long does that take? After I got off the air at 7, Mark Levin went on and said, you know what? Donald Trump should just go straight to the Supreme Court. This from Breitbart. Conservative radio host and litigator Mark Levin said Thursday on the Mark Levin Show that Donald Trump lawyers should file an emergency request for the Supreme Court to stop the prosecutions of the former president. Levin argued that special counsel Jack Smith, who he noted is not a presidential appointee, was using the indictments of Trump as political weapons to tarnish him as a candidate. He observed that Smith had asked federal judges in both the documents cases in Miami and the January 6 cases filed in Washington to carry out a speedy trial. That, he said, seemed designed to affect Trump's chances in the upcoming election and divert Trump's time and money from campaigning to defending himself. Listen, I think it's going to end up at the Supreme Court one way or the other, probably. You cannot I don't think you can get a fair trial in the District of Columbia, where I think in the last election more than 90% of the votes went to Joe Biden. That's your jury pool. So I'm not sure you can do that, and in the appeals court, I'm not sure that will. But I mean, ultimately, in a fair fight in the Supreme Court, I think he prevails. So Levin says, yeah, let's go straight to the Supremes. Let's go to SCOTUS. Let's do an emergency filing. And now, what has happened? Former President Trump is calling on the Supreme Court to intercede in the legal battles he is facing after he pleaded not guilty to federal charges related to special counsel Jack Smith's investigation of the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot and efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. In a post today early, he repeated accusations that President Biden is pushing the case against him for political purposes. Trump also said the multiple cases against him will require massive amounts of time and money and force him to use resources on court battles that could have been used for advertisement and rallies. I'm leading in all polls, including against Crooked Joe, but this is not a level playing field. He's right. It's not a level playing field. It is election interference, and the Supreme Court must intercede, the former president said. So this is the first indictment. See, I think you do in this particular case. You take this one to the Supreme Court, and you ask for emergency consideration, and I think you get a pretty quick answer back that free speech and political speech is protected in this country, and that you can say things that turn out to be wrong. There is no indication that you've violated the law by exercising your free speech rights. If you believed it and you said it, and I think he did believe it, and I know he said it, then and he made calls. Again, it's all speech. He was doing what he thought based on the fact that he truly believed, I think, that he had not lost and that the election was stolen from him. I don't know how you convict somebody of expressing the thoughts that they truly believe. And if you're going to do that, then what about all these damn Democrats over here who are just out there just doing
Russians interfered.
Russia interfered with our election, attacked our democracy for the sole purpose of artificially placing someone at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Successful.
Well, that was loud, and it was even ineffective. Sorry, but I don't understand how you can do this. I think you got a pretty good case before the Supremes. If you can get the Supremes to take the case. Now, they may not want to. They may want the courts to play out their regular order. But, man, I'm telling you, this one, this one stinks to high heaven in my mind. So we'll see, how that is received. But it sounds like the thing that I was sort of hinting at got picked up by Levin, and then the Levin, I'm not saying Levin listens to me. I'm just saying he had the same idea. And then it now sounds like the Trump organization is going to consider that as a possibility if the words of the president this morning are accurate. Saw this story in the Post-Millennial, and I had not picked up on this. The judge who handled the thing yesterday was not the judge who will hear the case. It's a magistrate. Judge threatens to hold Trump without bail if he violates strict conditions of his release. Magistrate Judge Mogzila, I can't even begin to say her last name, Upadhyaya, I believe that's right, could be held pending trial if he violated the strict conditions of his release. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of unnecessary posturing going on. I'll make you this bet right now that one way or the other, I don't know how long it takes to get to the Supreme Court. I do not believe that Trump can get a fair trial with a D.C. jury. Maybe he gets a change of venue. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he gets a different judge. Maybe he doesn't. But one way or the other, when it is all adjudicated at the end of the day, it's going to be just like Russia, not true. The allegations that have been leveled against him are not going to hold any water. It's going to be nothing, nada, zilch, zero. All right, more to come. It's now 20 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Genesis Diamonds is opening up the vault for their largest GIA diamond event ever. Starting Saturday for a limited time, all Genesis GIA diamond engagement rings will be marked down some 20%. That's 20% below Genesis' already unbeatable price. This means you can buy like a dealer buys with deep discounts on over $10 million in stunning diamond rings. These remarkable savings are on every GIA diamond engagement ring, from a half carat to 20 carats, all shapes, rounds, princess cuts, cushion cuts, you name it. Remember, all Genesis diamonds are hand-picked. They come straight from the diamond cutters and are graded by the GIA, the most prestigious gem lab in the world. At Genesis, you know their everyday prices are unbeatable, but for this event, they're taking value to a whole new level with an additional 20% savings. So don't miss this chance to save like never before on that exquisite diamond ring. Buy like a dealer buys. Starting Saturday for a limited time exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Limit one per customer, please. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See stores for details.
Deaths at the southern border, Donald Trump hitting the campaign trail tonight, and phone scammers, they're back in Franklin, Tennessee. Those stories and more coming up 30 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We had our mayoral election last night, and as expected, we will be having a runoff. It will be between the two top vote-gathering candidates, Freddie O'Connell, a well-known name in Nashville politics, will face off against Alice Rowley. I think that's an amazing opportunity to finally get someone who might look at things a little bit differently as a conservative, from a conservative viewpoint, in the role of mayor. Look, it's an uphill battle. Don't get me wrong. I just looked it up. In Davidson County, in the last presidential election, 64.5% of the residents of Davidson County voted for the Democrat candidate, and 32.4% voted for the GOP candidate. So it's about 2/3 Democrats, about 2 Democrats in Davidson County for roughly every single Republican. So you're outnumbered. Democrats outnumber Republicans in the district. In Nashville, in Davidson County, and I go, well, okay, 2-to-1 ratio, but if you make the case, and Alice, I hope you're listening to me, do not come into this race making the case that, well, if all the conservatives, show up, I think if they feel like you have an opportunity, they will show up. But I think you need more than 32% of the vote to do this. And so what I would suggest to you is you got to cast a wider net. You've got to come into this thing and you've got to say, look, Freddie O'Connell is part of the problem. Freddie O'Connell has been there forever. If you think everything in Davidson County is just a ray of sunshine, that it's sunshine, lollipops, and roses, and you think it's great, well, then just go ahead and vote for Freddie O'Connell. But if you think there's that it's time for a change, for somebody come in to sort of, look at things and try to do things differently, then, Alice, you make the case that you're that person. And I think there are a fair number of Democrats out there who might normally not vote for someone like you, but who will, because they agree that the city of Nashville is a mess, and that the politics need to be shook up, and that the status quo is not very good. And they've got real concerns about the quality of life inside Davidson County and how it is shifting and changing, it seems, every day. So I think, actually, Alice, there's a pretty good chance you can win this thing, but you've got to cast your net as the outsider. I'm the outsider. Freddie O'Connell is the insider. Freddie O'Connell will give you more of the same. So if that's what you want, knock yourself out, babe. But I'm here to tell you I can bring you something different. I can take a fresh set of eyes in here, and I'll come in here and try to straighten things up. So there you have it. I think Alice has a really good chance if she makes the argument that way. If it's just, all you, we'll hope that the Democrats stay at home, but all you conservatives get out there and vote and hope for that. I don't think that's going to get it. That's my personal opinion, based on having watched these races for a while. It's a heavy lift, but I think, I've got my fingers crossed. I just simply think she can do it. Now, as you know, my most important factor in who's the mayor is I want a mayor who's mockable, because I've had a great run from Megan Barry to Briley and then Mayor Minnie Cooper. All of those people, I've had just it gives me a great opportunity to mock them. And, if we end up with Freddie O'Connell, I think I can have some fun with Fast Freddie. Don't worry. but I actually would rather have good government. And so it is my hope that Alice prevails here, my personal hope here. I don't have a dog in that fight, in that I don't live in Davidson County, but I certainly care about the community. And, we all care. Even though we may live out here in the boonies, we all care about this, because it's the city where we work. It's the city where we play. It's when you are off somewhere visiting, relatives, and or somebody walks up and says, well, where are you from? You don't say, well, I'm from Watertown. I do say that sometimes, but what I normally say, Nashville, because you identify with the central city in your area. And so, yeah, that's what people know. And I do consider myself deeply caring about what happens in Nashville. And I think a rare opportunity has arisen. 30 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Got some scattered showers. The worst of the rainstorms for today subsided. We may expect a scattered shower or two the rest of the day. Traffic and weather coming up in just a few minutes. Officials in the United States and Mexico are investigating 2 deaths that occurred this week in the river that makes up 1,200 miles of border between the two countries. Jim Ryan with the latest from Texas.
Both bodies were discovered in the water on the Mexican side of the Rio Grande. A Honduran woman staying in a migrant shelter in Piedras Negras, Mexico, says tattoos on one of the corpses match those of her 20-year-old son. The second body was found alongside the buoy barrier that Texas Governor Greg Abbott ordered deployed last month. That man has not been identified but is thought to have been from Mexico.
Former President Trump hits the campaign trail tonight. He's got a rally in Montgomery. It comes a little more than 24 hours after his third criminal arraignment this year.
This is a persecution of a political opponent. This was never supposed to happen in America.
And new polling shows more than half of Americans polled do not think Trump should suspend his campaign. Just 49% do, and just 52% think he should have been charged in the first place. And that is an ABC News poll of 1,776 U.S. adults. Trump now set for a pretrial hearing for August 28th. In Franklin, phone scammers are back, and this time they're showing a law enforcement's number on the caller ID for the victim. The scammer then claims they're a deputy and tells that victim that warrants are out for their arrest, and the only way to avoid it is to pay the needed fines. If you receive a call where something seems off, make sure and call officials just in case. That is the latest news, weather, and traffic on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
All right, don't wait for a problem to pop up with your air conditioner this time of year. Be proactive and put your unit in tip-top shape with an annual maintenance, repair, or replacement, whether you need any of those things. Call the folks I would call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your official Rude Pro partner. Now, I am a member of the Beehive Club. I think you should consider joining as well. I think it's a good deal. For as little as $99, you get 3 thorough maintenance services on your systems, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges 24/7 and 10% off all repairs. What a deal. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling 775-7833. That's 615-775-7833 or online at busybeehvac.com. It is 38 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. And I'm just looking at chaos in New York City. Have you seen these pictures? Apparently, some kind of YouTuber had said that he was going to give away something. At New York City's Union Square, and the place is jammed. And chaos, as they say, has ensued. I don't know the whole story, but I'm telling you. That's nuts. That's completely crazy.
I see. Good grief.
I know.
That is a lot of people. Who is this person?
And a lot of them are not very happy.
Oh, it's one of the most popular Twitch streamers, apparently.
Yeah, and what is he giving away?
Said he would give away a PlayStation. He would be giving away PlayStation 5 video game consoles at 4 p.m.
Well, apparently when he got there, there were thousands of people.
I don't think he's got that many PS5s.
I don't think he's got
to give away.
in that SUV. I don't think he's got it. But anyway, crazy.
No, they're throwing stuff.
Now I'm seeing tear gas being
this
used.
is going to be ugly.
Yikes.
Yeah. Now they're if that's police, it looks like they are using tear gas. Wow. Ooh. That's ugly. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that and try to keep you, apprised of everything that's going on. I want to spend some time talking about the situation down on the border. So many people have said, well, the state of Texas has put these floating buoys out in the water, and that the 2 people have died. And so, they're trying to make the case that the state of Texas is acting in a way that's killing migrants who are trying to come to this country. And, I don't know that that's the more I got into it, it sounds like there was one body near the buoy and another on the other side of the river. But, I mean, you lose lives on the Rio Grande River. I have swum parts of the Rio Grande River, and I can tell you it's treacherous at points. You can get in trouble, especially if you're not a strong swimmer. And as sad as it is, many people trying to cross the border, come across the river, are not strong swimmers. And they do lose lives. This has happened. But you wouldn't be losing the lives if you did not make it so attractive to come to the United States. Right now, I mean, I think most migrants correctly believe if I get across that river, I'm in America. I'm going to be given a slip of paper and I'm going to be sent on my way, and that's going to be the end of it because, Biden. Honestly, they believe this and they hear this and they come. And so at the end of the day, when you have deaths, I have to say, who is that on? It's on the people who make it so enticing to come across that river illegally. The laws no longer apply. We have laws, and there are ways to come to America, and I think we have forgotten this. There are ways to come to America that are not, illegal. There's a process. And you just got to do the time. But rather than do that, a lot of people say, "Oh, Biden's letting people in. Let's get down to the border. We'll figure it out when we get there," and they come. So, a couple of deaths in the water, as sad as that is, and I don't mean to be harsh about it. That happens every day on the border, sadly. Here we go. But then there's this. An ongoing heat wave impacting much of the nation and the swift-moving currents of the Rio Grande proved deadly for migrants attempting to enter the United States during the month of July. According to a source with Customs and Border Protection, 125 migrants perished attempting to cross the U.S. southwest border in July. The Border Patrol recorded 37 migrant deaths during the month of July in the El Paso sector. Most of the deaths, according to the source, involved heat-related injuries. I mean, it's hot. They're coming across the Chihuahuan Desert. It's not pretty. It's ugly country. As even though that part of the world, West Texas and northern Mexico are parts of the area that I know pretty well, it is brutal country. And if it's 115 degrees out there, it doesn't take long to succumb to the heat. So it was temperatures in the El Paso sector. Temperatures in certain parts of the Southwest remained more than 100 degrees above Fahrenheit for weeks in Arizona. Temperatures spiked above 110 for 30 consecutive days. 30 consecutive days. The record-breaking heat contributed to 36 migrant deaths in the Tucson sector alone. The Arizona Border Patrol sector recorded the second highest total for migrant recoveries in July. The third highest number of migrant deaths recorded by the Border Patrol occurred in Del Rio, where the remains of 31 deceased migrants were recovered. In that sector, the source says most recoveries involved heat illness-related illness. This was followed in numbers by drowning in the Rio Grande. So there are some drownings, but the vast majority of people, 125 of them in 1 month, who died and perished at the border before they got to America, sad as it is, I think, again, you have to put these deaths at the hands of the Biden administration and their policies. They would not be coming if the policies were not so favorable for them to come. I was down at the border. I've been to the border twice since all of this nonsense started. And I've talked to sheriffs, and I've talked to law people down there, and I've talked to just average citizens. And they tell me that this began literally just days before Biden took the oath of office, and it has been relentless. There was a little drop in June where I think the Biden administration was working more carefully with Mexican authorities because they didn't want to see a big surge after certain things happened down there. They didn't want to see a big surge come across the border, so they worked with Mexican authorities to keep folks on the other side. But it has certainly gotten bad now, to the point where, people are dying because of the heat. Again, they wouldn't be coming if it wasn't an attractive thing for them to come. In other words, they know that if they get across that river, that they're going to be in America. And I don't blame them for wanting to come, but I do blame them for not following the rules. And we have rules, and when the rules come apart, this is what you get: chaos. The Biden administration is sowing seeds of chaos on the border. You just get here and we'll give you a little piece of paper and we'll point you north. And, once you get inside, there'll be people who will pick up and they will help you get to wherever it is you want to go. I mean, what's not to love if you're hating your life in Central America or in Mexico or wherever they're coming? By the way, a great number of them are not coming from either Mexico or from Central America. They're coming from all over the world. They're taking advantage of the chaos there. Some of them, a great number of them, have been caught who are actually on the terrorist watch list. Look, I mean, you've heard me talk about this endlessly, over the year or so that we've been having this problem. But this is not going to get better. It is only going to, as long as the policies are in place that circumvent the enforcement of our border laws, we're going to continue to have this. And the deaths, I don't think you can blame the Texans. I think you have to lay it on the Biden administration, who makes it attractive for folks to come across the border, even at the risk of their own lives. Pretty tough going out there. 1,500 troops that were sent to the border when Title 42 expired have been pulled back from the border. Migrant encounters dropped just after the expiration, but saw an uptick in July. See, that's what I was talking about. In June, when they thought Title 42 was going to cause a big wave, I think they worked with the Mexican authorities to stop the wave from coming and just keep them on the Mexican side. But now, in July, everything is back to normal. And you've got sanctuary cities who are saying, we can't handle anymore. Boy, isn't that rich? Isn't that rich? Here from hotair.com, Mayor Eric Adams is finally throwing in the towel. He admits that the current policy on illegal immigration is a disaster. What policy? He doesn't go far enough, but his capitulation on the issue reveals a more profound truth. Sanctuary policies were always a fraud. He's New York City. We are a sanctuary city. We'll open our doors if you come to America, and you get across that river, you come to New York City, and we're going to take care of you. We're a sanctuary city. We will protect you, and we will not tell the authorities that you are here. Okay. All right. How's that feeling now, Mayor Adams? L.A., San Francisco, Atlanta, Chicago, all of these big blue cities. Oh, our arms are open. Come on in. We're not like those mean old Republicans. We will welcome you with open arms. We will take care of you. We will make sure that you get started. And by the way, we will not tell the authorities that you are here. We will not assist them in any way. We are a sanctuary city. I don't think they feel that way now. It's pretty ugly. Mayor Adams is talking about how they have absolutely no. I read where $104 million was only enough to take care of their migrant population that doesn't have a place to live for about 14 days. All right, the border, it's still in disorder. 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies, and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.
Mayhem at Union Square Park in New York City, all over some video game consoles. The Idaho man accused of a quadruple murder claims to have an alibi, and a Superior Court judge in California now under arrest. Find out why at 4. That and more coming up. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I was just looking here. Of course, I have no intention of going to see it. I think it's not. I'm not its target audience. I'm pretty sure. But Barbie is less than $100 million away from $1 billion box office.
Ooh,
as they head into their third weekend. $1 billion worth of box office. And I heard Matt Murphy's take on Oppenheimer, which he went to see. It's a 3-hour investment, and I do want to go see it, and I do want to see it in the theater.
Same.
I might be able to try to work that in this weekend, but that's getting rave reviews, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
5 stars all around is what Murphy said.
I don't know. I'm anxious to see that and be going pretty soon. On the other hand, I don't think that the Barbie. Yeah, I just don't think I can get there.
I'm really surprised by that, Brian. I pegged you for a big Barbie fan.
By the way,
Barbie.
Yeah.
For me, the best thing that I'm watching right now on streaming is something called Strange New Worlds, which is the latest iteration of the Star Trek franchise. The stories of Captain Christopher Pike, who preceded James Kirk as the captain of the Enterprise.
Really?
And I've loved it. All I will say is in this last episode, I think Strange New Worlds has jumped the shark.
Uh-oh.
Dang.
That's a shame.
I would have never expected there to be an episode that was a complete musical.
Yeah, that's kind of out of left field.
Yeah, really out of left field, and it didn't sit well with me. Otherwise, I thought it's a particularly great show. It is 58 minutes. Oh, let's do the markets real quick. Dow Jones Industrials down 150, S&P down 23, NASDAQ down 50. All screens are red. This brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Learn more at beaconcm.com. 58 minutes now, past the hour. Let's talk about USS. We've had rain and a lot of rain last week, and maybe you're having some waterproofing or some structural foundation issues as a result of it. Who are you going to call? You're going to call the company that you trust, and that would be United Structural Systems. They will come right out to your house. They'll assess your situation, and they'll give it to you straight from the shoulder. I mean, they're not trying to sell you something you don't need. These are honest folks, over 25,000 satisfied residential customers. They come out, they assess your situation, they tell you what you need. If you decide to go forward, you don't pay a penny until the job is done, and you are completely satisfied. So, if you have that kind of problem, call the folks that I would call. Call the folks at USS, United Structural Systems. They guarantee their best at USS, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. Learn more online at USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com. Or call this number. Make a note of it, 615-488-7855.
It's 4 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Got a chance of scattered showers throughout tonight, with this weekend set to be hot and humid with feels-like temperatures set to be in the triple digits. Complete weather traffic report coming up in 5 minutes. In New York City, Union Square Park, absolute mayhem right now, all because of a very popular Twitch streamer and influencer promoted a giveaway. Police set up a barricade. People were able to push through it for some time. Police have now begun pushing forward as objects, mainly bottles, have been flying everywhere. This happened near a construction site, so multiple people were throwing paint cans from that construction site as well. Tear gas has been deployed. Police, covered with helmets and batons in hand, have sectioned off the crowd now. Several arrests have been made, and the streamer Kai Sinet promised to give away a number of PS5 video game consoles. Brian Koberger, the man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students last year, claims to have an alibi for the night in question, his car. But beyond that, Koberger's attorney could not provide anything more specific. Meanwhile, the defense is looking to chip away at the cell phone data that prosecutors are using to link the graduate student to the crime scene. Brian Buckmeyer explains what the defense could say to attack that position.
Hey, it's shoddy cell phone reception. This is not consciousness of guilt of him turning off and then back on the cell phone. This is something beyond his control. Maybe they get to go to the location and prove that cell phone reception is horrible there. But outside of that, it seems like the prosecution has a very strong argument as to what he's doing when he's driving in and out of these areas and turning off and back on his cell phone.
In that next hearing, scheduled for August 18th. Crime in Tennessee, 58-year-old John Hogue has been arrested after allegedly sexually assaulting 2 children at a Walmart in Spring Hill. Officials say it was 2 siblings, an 11 and a 13-year-old, that Hogue assaulted while those 2 teenager and child were shopping with their family. He's been booked into the Williamson County Jail. And a highly respected California Superior Court judge under arrest in Orange County, accused of murder. Alex Stone reports from L.A.
Orange County Superior Court Judge Jeffrey Ferguson is well known in the community. He's received numerous awards while he's been a judge since 2015. Now he's under arrest for murder. Anaheim police were called to the 77-year-old judge's home in pricey Anaheim Hills on Thursday night for a shooting. When they arrived, they say they found Ferguson's wife, 65-year-old Cheryl, shot to death. The motive appears to have been domestic violence. Judge Ferguson booked on $1 million bail. Detectives say they are actively investigating the murder.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather are on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Oh, man. I'm so glad I don't live in New York City. Have you seen this chaos that's going on? In New York City right now, there is a full-on riot underway. And it all has to do with a social media influencer who said he was going to give away some video game consoles at a certain time at a certain place in New York. And about, I don't know, 10,000 people showed up, and it turned into a pushing, shoving melee. Police are now setting up barricades. Tear gas has been shot. Rocks and bottles and cans of paint have been thrown by the protesters.
Oh, that's what that is. Yeah, I keep seeing this helicopter shot. It's paint all over the ground.
Yeah, it's paint. There was a construction site nearby, and people were throwing paint, big cans of paint, which, doesn't clean up easily, by the way. And then apparently the person who was going to give away the consoles arrives in I would call it a Cadillac SUV of some kind, and then realized we've got to get out of here. And they're completely surrounded. And there are people on the hood of the vehicle.
Oh.
There are people on the roof of the vehicle. There are people hanging off the rear bumper of the vehicle. And it finally backed out of the crowd and drove away. And there were still like 5 people on the outside of the car.
Really?
Yeah. It was, it's just
I have
insane.
not seen that yet.
Yeah.
It does look like the crowds have dispersed.
Well, yeah, because tear gas will do that.
Yeah.
But, just
what a mess.
Yeah. Again, just nuts.
And all for a PlayStation.
Yeah.
It's not like he was giving away $1 million or something. Just what, $400 or $500 worth of PlayStation?
Yeah, I don't know, but apparently a lot of people were going there in hopes of getting one, and I don't know that anybody's going to get one. But I bet that guy's I bet you the police are going to pull that guy aside and say, sir, just a moment. Can we have a minute of your time?
Yeah. Oh, I just saw the video of him driving off. Wow, it's like ants.
Yeah.
He's just driving and people are on the roof. They're hanging off the sides. They're hanging off the back. That is nuts.
Just nuts. All right. Well, anyway, we'll keep an eye on that. Thank goodness we don't live in New York City. I do want to talk about the latest in the Biden family syndicate, because there are new little dribs and drabs that are coming out. Look, I think the House Oversight Committee, when they next speak on this matter, will have a lot of things to talk about. They're apparently going after bank records, new bank records, and the bank records give them a lot of details about, number one, where the money was coming from, and then how it was distributed through all of these shell corporations, and then who had access to the shell corporations is the question. And so they're now proving that that Hunter Biden was deeply involved in all kinds of activities, and it's becoming crystal clear, it would seem to me, that Joe Biden was involved and was well informed about what Hunter Biden was doing. Here is the New York Post today. Miranda Devine, gosh, has she been on tear? She's been great. She's the one who broke the laptop story at the New York Post, and has been on top of it ever since. Nothing she's had to write has ever had to be pulled back. Here's Miranda Devine. Just in case it wasn't clear what Hunter Biden was doing when he put his dad, then Vice President Joe Biden, on the speakerphone during business meetings, even Hunter's former business partner, Devin Archer, calls it an abuse of soft power. According to designated Democrat apologist Representative Dan Goldman, Joe Biden had no idea who was on the speakerphone in Paris or Dubai or Lake Como or wherever it was that Hunter introduced his father to shady foreigners who were showering him with millions of dollars in lavish gifts, like a $50,000 Hublot watch, when Archer says Hunter got from the Ukrainians. By the way, I heard a thing today, and it's a story that's out there, that I think it's in the Washington Times. I couldn't get it to print out, but I did see it, that a Kazakhstani businessman, after a meeting with Hunter Biden, and I think one that Joe might have been at, actually wired $147,000 to Hunter Biden so he could go out and buy a Porsche. Now, what does that tell you? Tells me something's not on the up and up. The VP would just talk about the weather. That's what they said after Hunter introduced him to Vadim or Nikolai or whoever. He wasn't talking about balance sheets or where to place the oil rigs, so that makes it quite okay. Seriously, who does Dan Goldman think he's kidding, writes Miranda Devine. Archer was careful choosing his words to the Oversight Committee on Monday and in a subsequent interview with former Fox host Tucker Carlson. Facing a one-year sentence for fraud conviction, Archer has been bombarded with death threats since news broke that he was cooperating with congressional investigators. The father of three has tried to tell the truth while trying to survive at the center of a brutal tug of war. No matter how desperately Democrats and their media handmaidens try to spin Archer's testimony, he has changed the game. As he told Carlson, it's categorically false that Joe Biden has had no role in his son's business or knowledge of it. He was aware of Hunter's business. He met with Hunter's business partners. Now Joe Biden's involvement in his family influence operation is undeniable. Undeniable, he says. Even while being scrupulously careful, Archer's testimony was damning. He described how the Joe was the brand of his family business and was used to send signals of power, access, and influence, whether on speakerphone or meeting in person. There were dinners at Cafe Milano in Washington, D.C., with Hunter's benefactors from Ukraine, Russia, and China, breakfast with the vice president at his residence in D.C., handshakes on the sidelines of Beijing meetings. Ultimately, it was this access to Vice President Biden that sent millions of dollars flowing into the Biden family coffers. Let me see if I can find this story that I was talking about a moment ago. It was really quite shocking. It's moved off of the front page now. We'll find. See if you can find that story for me, Chris, while I'm working. I had trouble getting it to print out, and so I didn't get a copy of it, but I think it's pretty interesting. And it is, I think, $149,000, maybe $147,000 for a Porsche. Wow. I want to hear more about that. I certainly do. Devin Archer says one Democratic claim about Biden business is categorically false. This from the Examiner. Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's former business partner, pushed back on claims that President Joe Biden was not involved in his son's foreign business in any way. This is in the conversation with Tucker Carlson. That's categorically false. He was aware of Hunter's business. He met with Hunter's business partners, not backing away from it. The Biden brand intimidated people to not legally mess with the Biden family. Devin Archer told Representative Daniel Goldman during his just transcribed interview, which you can read, by the way, it's out there. Archer, who testified that Hunter Biden included then Vice President Joe Biden on speakerphone more than 20 times with business associates to sell the brand, also told Goldman the Bidens intimidated people into not legally probing the family's business activities. Archer told Goldman that Hunter Biden was able to survive on the board of Burisma because of the Biden brand. I don't understand. How does that have an impact, Goldman said. The capabilities to navigate D.C., that they were basically able to be in the news cycle. I think that preserved them from a longevity standpoint. That's how I think holistically. But how would that work? Well, because people would be intimidated to mess with them. In what way, Goldman pressed? Never ask a question you don't know the answer to when you're doing one of these things. In what way would they mess with them? Legally, Archer replied. All right. So, did you find it there?
Yes,
something on it?
I did. Yeah, it was 100.
Read me the headlines to that story.
Headline is Kazakhstan businessman inexplicably wired $142,000 to Hunter Biden in April 2014 so he could buy himself a sports car.
Go ahead. Next graph.
Let's see. It says Mr. Rakishev sent the money around the same time that then Vice President Biden dined with him at a Washington restaurant at Hunter's request. The details
This is the Cafe Milano dinner.
The details of the gifted car were revealed by Hunter Biden's former business partner Devin Archer during 4 hours of testimony. Asked why Mr. Rakesh wired the money, Archer said it was for President Biden's son to purchase a pricey car. saying he first purchased a Fisker electric car and then switched to a Porsche.
Wow. Wow. I mean, what were these guys selling? I mean, here you got to understand, even there are emails that suggest that the people that they were doing business with understood that Hunter Biden was a drug addict, that he had sexual addiction problems and drug addiction problems. He just was just a disaster of a human being, and yet they were paying him big money. And they were paying him big money for access to the big guy. And the big guy could be put on the phone, or the big guy will meet them for dinner. One way or the other, even if you don't get into a conversation, and they may have been careful about it, where, the vice president doesn't, talk about the actual business, it was a sign of power. And we have one case. Where we know that they were seeking an outcome for Burisma, and it was about a prosecutor that they did not like and they wanted fired, and we have talked about this time and time again. The soundbite here, you actually have Joe Biden talking about how he got this prosecutor fired, and had warned the people in Ukraine, look, if you don't fire this guy, you're not going to get $1 billion in loan guarantees that I was supposed to bring to you. I'm just not going to give it to you. Wow. And at the end of the day, he says, I told him I was going to leave. I told them that I was just going to be out of there. I'm going to be gone. If you didn't play ball and get rid of that prosecutor, and you know what happened?
Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
He got fired. That is a this for that. It was something sought by Burisma executives. They didn't like the prosecutor poking around in their business. They hire Hunter Biden, and they pay him an outrageous amount of money, even though he doesn't know anything about the oil business. They bring him on the board, and you know why they brought him on the board? Because he had access to the big guy. And then the big guy goes in there with $1 billion worth of loan guarantees. By the way, our money, not his money, our taxpayer dollars that we're guaranteeing loans in Ukraine. And he says, I'm not going to give it to you until you fire the prosecutor. I don't like the prosecutor. He was doing the bidding of Burisma. He was doing the bidding of Hunter Biden's enterprise. He was acting to get these things done, and his family certainly was the beneficiary of a lot of money. I keep looking at one thing. There's one bank account out there. There's a lot of bank accounts where money went. Some were named for Hallie Biden. Some were named for Joe Biden. Some were named for James Biden. A lot of people got money that were related to the family. And then there's just one that says Biden. Who did that belong to? Inquiring minds want to know. It is 20 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. GracePoint delivers medicine affordably with a menu-style transparent pricing, so you'll know how much the care costs before it's delivered. They start with Smart Care plans. They're big on this. $69 a month, and here's what you get. Listen, this is big. You get unlimited office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. Now, because they treat the entire family, even newborns, they offer family plans as well. In conjunction with your high-deductible insurance plan, this could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. At GracePoint, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms. They treat naturally whenever possible. It is a military vet-owned practice. GracePoint wants you to know that they can treat seasonal allergies. GracePoint offers allergy testing and treatment so you can enjoy the great outdoors. Just some of the reasons why they've been voted the best primary care provider by Toasty Music City year after year after year. GracePoint Healthcare is on Main Street in Franklin. Here's the number, 599-6868, to schedule a visit.
A Tennessee Army Reserve charged with statutory rape. Chaos in New York City Union Square Park, and the money news. That and more. 4:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
25 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I hope that you will make arrangements to be with us on the 15th of August at the Korean Grill and Bar in Hendersonville. Now, let me tell you why I am excited about this. There are 4 words that got my attention. Rapt attention. All you can eat.
How did I know that's what you were going to say?
Well, I'm a big boy, and I need a lot of food, and by the way, this is a great experience. If you've never been to a Korean barbecue, they got a table there where you just say, I want this, and then you cook it right there, sort of in front of you, and it's hot and it's fresh, and it's just amazing. And very tasteful. I love going for this kind of stuff. Sort of, imagine, like you've gone to a Benihana's or something like that, except it's just slightly different.
It's just you and your table, and you're cooking. You're cooking the stuff. You don't have a chef cooking the stuff.
Well, I'm not sure exactly how they do it here, but that's my understanding. So I'll be there. Dan Mandis will be there. Chris Hand, our new hand, Chris Hand will be there. Matt Murphy will be there. Johnny B. Pamela Furr, and I probably won't recognize half these people because they've all been losing weight. By the way, I was talking to Bell K. In the handover. We're now doing a handover with Matt Murphy every day.
Yeah, I like that. That was good.
Yeah, where we chat a little bit about what's going on, and
love it.
And I got to pick up on him and beat up on him a little bit. But everybody is thin. And I keep saying, that's great, man. You've got these wonderful weight loss programs, but you're sort of wimpy, if you ask me. Because anybody can do it with a good weight loss program.
Yeah.
Try the shingles diet, my friend. That's no day at the beach. 42 pounds.
Wow.
Golly.
I lost. And honestly, it's quite shocking how much weight I lost during that whole thing. And I'm mostly over it now. I haven't talked about it in a while, but I'm mostly over it. But I'm telling you, that was a thing that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy.
Yeah, it went on for, 2 months?
Well, this would be week 12, I think.
Wow, so 3 months.
Some people get over in a couple of weeks, and it's great. But boy, I'm telling you, I go to the doc, and the doc says, "Well, it's not the worst case I've seen."
Ooh,
it's really, but it's a bad one. So I'm so glad to be over that mess. Anyway, I'll be looking forward to seeing you all there. Go to 997wtn.com today to get your tickets. If you use the promo code Chris, you'll get $15 off, and I look forward to seeing you there. Now, love this story. Out of Kyle, Texas. You've heard about a message in a bottle, but what about a message in a balloon that has flown nearly 900 miles? But that was reality for James and Rachel Knox of Kyle, Texas. On Wednesday night, James was playing in the backyard. He saw a balloon falling from the sky, carrying what appeared to be a rolled-up note. It landed in the field behind. He runs in, tells his wife, "Baby, put your shoes on. We've got an adventure." And they go out, and they find a blue aluminum metallic balloon attached with a note written in a child's handwriting that read, and I'll try to, "Hooray, hooray." It's misspelled. "You've got this message today." Message is spelled MESSIG. Cute as it. That's adorable. Olivia Brown sent this. Written on the bottom of the letter was a phone number. James and Rachel texted it, and nearly immediately they heard back from a family located in Nashville, Tennessee.
Wow.
The family had sent the balloon Sunday. It traveled for 3 days and roughly 880 miles. Whoever we're assuming it was one of her parents, was probably texting us. They said she was ecstatic. She was jumping up and down.
Oh.
She was just so happy that somebody, screaming her little heart out. She was excited somebody found her letter. James and Rachel said they hope Olivia can see her story shared on the news and know she was the one who started it all. They added the letter, brought them a little happiness in our day they didn't know they needed. Keep her adventurous spirit alive, they said.
That's awesome.
Nashville.
That's great.
Nashville to Kyle, Texas, 3 days, almost 900 miles. Yeah, I like that. I'll send a message in a bottle. 30 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Got 82 degrees right now as the temperature here in Music Row. Some scattered showers expected here throughout the whole weekend, Saturday and Sunday, possible in the mid-state, but real humid and real hot when showers aren't falling. Full forecast, latest traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, an Army Reserve from Mount Juliet, 39-year-old Kenneth Wasson is in jail and has been charged with statutory rape. Wasson met this 15-year-old victim on a dating app. The teenager expressed an interest in the military, and Wasson said that he would be able to teach her about the JROTC program. He drove to her home in Nashville with his fatigues on and admitted to officials about having sex with this victim. Wasson was arrested last night. In New York City, thousands of people flooded Union Square in response to a social media influencer's promise to give away big prizes. Police eventually managed to restore order, making arrests in the process. This person explains why they showed up.
From my understanding, PS5s, video game accessories, PCs, but I don't think they will actually give away an actual PC because how is somebody going to carry that? So I'm pretty sure it's gift cards for them to then go and get the P5 themselves.
And this popular influencer, Kai Sinet, is now in police custody. Over to Money News, Daria Albinger.
Stocks closed lower on a mix of reports about the job market and profits on two of the market's most influential stocks. The Dow fell 150 points, the Nasdaq gave up 50, and the S&P closed down 24. Amazon jumped over 8.25% after reporting a much bigger profit than expected. That's despite more signs that growth in the Seattle-based company's cloud unit, AWS, continues to slow. Apple, meanwhile, fell more than 9% after reporting revenue that barely topped forecasts. The job market is showing signs of cooling off this summer, but it's still strong enough to defy predictions that higher interest rates could tip the economy into recession. Employers added 187,000 jobs last month, which was short of the 200,000 expected, but the jobless rate dropped to 3.5%, and wages rose a little more than they were expected to.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
All right, let's talk about Rhino Shield of Nashville. And, if you're thinking about painting your house or some structure that you have, well, you can do that. And that'll be, it'll look fine for a little while. But then paint's going to do what paint does. It's going to start to crack, and it's going to chip, and it's going to peel, and you'll have to paint all over again. Won't be very long. But if you called the folks at Rhino Shield of Nashville, you wouldn't have to think about painting your house for another 25 years, a full quarter century. You see, Rhino Shield is not paint. It's 10 times thicker than paint and is infused with special 3M ingredients, billions of microspheres that allow the coating to expand and contract. And that's why they offer a 25-year warranty against cracking, chipping, and peeling. Clay Morris and the folks of Rhino Shield of Nashville have a great reputation, and they care deeply about doing quality work. Here's what Jones said. The work was outstanding, the quality top of the line. The guys were nice, had their ducks in a row, finished in a timely fashion, cleaned up after themselves, and left a great coating on the house. This sounds like something you want to give a try. I mean, why wouldn't you? Not have to think about it for 25 years? Give Clay Morris a call at 615-474-1729 and learn more at rhinoshieldnashville.com. It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. It is the time of week that I look forward to. This is my favorite thing that we do. And if you've been with us for a while, you know at 4:35 and 5:35 on Friday, we do a little thing called Phone Your FARB Friday. That's right. I want to know what's on your beady little minds today. Now, I don't think you have beady little minds. I think you got things you want to say. I think you got things you want to get off your chest. Maybe you got a bee in your bonnet. Maybe you have a burr in your saddle. Maybe you have a bug in a place where you really should never, ever have a bug. Hey. So just get on the phone, 615-737-9986, and express yourself. Look, a couple of helpful hints. Number one, if you're calling, we don't want you to wait and listen to the radio when you get called in and checked in. Stay on the phone and get right to your point. We got a lot of things we want to cover here, and so this is the whole idea. We want you to climb up on our 100,000 watt box. What do you call it? Our 100,000 watt soapbox. That's it, soapbox, and express yourself in a way that that as long as it's clean language, we are a family show. It'll be fine. 615-737-9986. Let's start with Steve in Cookeville. Steve, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the Drive. Hello, Steve. What do you think about? What's on your mind?
Well, this Bud Light deal, Brian, You know, I'll just say it like this. I would rather drink horse urine from the Clydesdales than Bud Light beer.
Well, thank you for that, Steve. Okay, that expresses how strongly you feel, but it's not very appetizing. Aubrey in Murfreesboro. Aubrey, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the Drive. Aubrey, what do you think?
I'm thinking that this thing of last name influence in Washington, D.C. goes much further than the Biden brand. I think that the Pelosi brand, the Kerry brand, the Romney brand, when you look into their families, all of them have gotten money through kind of sweetheart deals, and I think that they all should be investigated.
Well, how many times have we had this conversation where somebody says, how does a guy who makes a certain amount of money every year and has to live in Washington, D.C., where it's expensive, how does a person like that end up, leaving Congress with millions of dollars when they had nothing when they started? I mean, it's beginning to become clear now, isn't it, Aubrey, that we were beginning to get a sense of how that all happens. And I think you're right to raise questions about it. All right, moving on. Here we go to Steve in Franklin. Steve, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Steve?
Yeah, I just paid $4.50 a gallon for mid-grade out here in good old Franklin. What is going on? When did that happen?
It has gone up. I had a story on it a couple of days ago. It had gone up 21 cents a gallon. And I don't really have a good sense of I can go to Gas Buddy and see what's going on. Let me just, while you're doing that, because I haven't checked it on it a lot. But somebody said that what was going on was that they were starting to try to fill the strategic reserve after draining it. And that after pumping so much oil into the system, that it was now time to refill it, and it was expensive to do so. And by the way, it was causing gasoline prices to go up. Here we go, Nashville area. I'm pulling it up now. It's loading. 323 at Hardison Market, Costco 324, Sam Club 324.
Dang.
How much did you pay, do you say?
I didn't plan well. I live in Hendersonville. It's always 40 cents cheaper out there for some reason. I guess they figure everybody in Franklin has money to burn, but it was $4.50 at the Twice Daily here next to on Carruthers.
Wow. All right. Well, no, it's going up, and I think it has to do with, number one, we kept shoving a lot of oil into the system through the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which is really not supposed to be used for that. But, it's not really supposed to be used as a political tool. It's supposed to be used as a tool to, really protect the nation when we are in times of national need. I think it's very different when you have a situation like there's a hurricane in the Gulf and a lot of oil is not coming to shore and maybe a couple of refineries got knocked out. We needed something to help us out for a short while. Okay, that's one thing. I think if we are in the middle of a conflict, we might need to tap into that. That's what it's really there for, but not for political purposes, which is what I think Joe Biden used it for. And most of the time, he just wanted cheap gas during the midterm elections, and now it's time to pay the piper, and it's starting to go up. Thank you for the call, Steve. We'll stay on that story. Cody in McMinnville. Cody, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Cody?
Thank you for the call, Steve. Stay on that story.
Hello, Cody. On the phone, please. Oh. See, this is what I was talking about. He's gone. Jerry in Murfreesboro. Jerry, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Jerry?
Yeah, Brian, great show. I just wanted to say these, I think the Republic's at the end here. These executive orders, what do we just have little fiefdoms with our representatives and their senators? Because they never vote on anything, and if they do and they put it down, then the dictator in there that we vote for every year just goes around it by doing executive orders.
Well, the executive orders can be a reasonable tool if they follow the strictures of the Constitution and of the law. You lay down the law, and the law comes from Congress, and every administration then comes and says, well, here's what Congress says. Here's how we're going to interpret that law. If you interpret it in a fair way, there's no harm, there's no foul. There's nothing, no crime against the Constitution. But what this guy does is that he sets out executive orders that he knows full well are never going to withstand constitutional scrutiny. Witness the decision that I'm going to pay off student loan debt. He doesn't have the authority to do that, but he's still trying to do it, still trying to find some way by hook or crook to circumvent the process. And, I think the Supreme Court keeps bopping him on the nose and saying, no, you can't do that. That's not the way we work. But one way or the other, it continues to happen. Got a few phone lines open, 615-737-9986. Next call goes to Mike in Columbia. Mike, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Mike?
Hey, I got something that's really bothering me.
Okay.
Okay. Red flag laws sounds like a great idea, right? Somebody you think has got a problem, you need to, let the cops know that we need to check on this guy's guns, okay? On the surface, this sounds great. Bear with me for a second. You remember a few years ago when all the people that got concealed carry permits were outed in media, how certain news organizations would get the list of who had concealed carry permits and put those out where you could find out if people close to you had them, etc.
Right.
There is already appearing on progressive bulletin boards about how these lists can be used to SWAT people that have firearms. If they allow these red flag laws to be used anonymously, I got a real problem with that. And I'll hang up and listen.
I have a real problem with the idea of red flag laws. I think we need to do some things, but I mean, the governor's idea, with all due respect to the governor, because I know he feels very passionately about this, I don't think it's the right solution. I think there are things that we can do, but honestly, red flag laws, I think, can have the potential for abuse, and I am not in favor of them. I think you're right. I hadn't thought of it in the way that you have laid it out there, but I think you make a pretty good point. Look, we're about to have a special session of the legislature. It's my sense, and I think I'm pretty well plugged in on this, that the governor is not going to get his bill. He's not going to get his bill, but there may be some other things around the periphery. I will promise you this, that when the special session starts, we're going to be all over that like a duck on a proverbial June bug. We're going to be on it. And when we have something to tell you, we're going to have to be quick to action, because, these kinds, if there's some bad legislation out there, we're going to tell you all about it. You stay here, and I promise you we'll be on that. You will not be behind the curve. You'll be on the cutting edge. All right? You have my word. Cody in McMinnville, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say, Cody? Cody?
Yes, sir. I got just one thing I wanted to say.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yeah, we're waiting on you.
I'm sorry, my phone messed up. I just wanted your opinion on the Flannery base land.
Right. Yeah.
The base. I don't think that anybody should even be able to buy or have land close to a base. I think it's kind of ridiculous.
Well, listen, I mean, this is Travis Air Force Base, one of our most sensitive installations around the country. We do a lot of interesting things out there. And there's a group out there that is just buying up land like crazy. I forget how many acres, maybe 50,000 acres, something like that. We've done the story a couple of times. I think that it's a fair question. Who are these people? And I mean, really, powerful people have tried to figure out who is the Flannery group that's buying up all this land. Sounds like a very, Irish institution, but who are they? Nobody has been able to figure it out. Why do they want that much land right around Travis Air Force Base? What do they hope to use that land for? I don't know. In some parts of the country, I will tell you, the Chinese were just pretty blatant about it. Chinese businessmen, I'm using air quotes here, were buying up a bunch of land, for example, in Oklahoma and other places. Why? Not clear. Simply not clear. It is now 50 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, folks, weather is that grilling time. It's the time to go outside and enjoy your grill and cook outside. If you're a fan of Legend Steakhouse like I am, you can enjoy some of those same flavors right at home, fresh off your own very grill. Just take a walk down your local grocery store aisle, places like Walmart and Kroger, and look for Johnny Fleeman's own brand. You'll likely see his famous fruit tea on your local grocery store shelves, along with salad dressings and Johnny Fleeman steak marinades. Johnny Fleeman's proprietary blend will give your steaks, chickens, and chop a flavor that will hit a home run with family and friends, low in sodium, about a third of other brands. You don't have to worry about over-marinating. You can use this marinade to enhance almost any dish, your favorite rice recipe, fresh vegetables, just about anything. So if your favorite grocer is not stocking Johnny Fleeman products, ask them to do so. For more information, just go to johnnyfleeman.com. That's johnnyfleeman.com. And it goes without saying for those times when you want someone else to do the cooking. And, you don't, excuse me, I got all choked up. I got excited about it. You want somebody else to do the cooking. They'll always be glad to see you at your nearest Legend Steakhouse for lunch or dinner.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies, and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.
A Tennessee Army Reserve charged with statutory rape, a runoff next month in Nashville's mayoral race, and mayhem in New York City today over some influencers' promises. Those stories and more coming up at 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, it's State Fair time, and the Wilson County holds the Tennessee State Fair. You know, I like the fact that here it's in Wilson County, literally not far from where I live, and I'm anxious to go to the State Fair. But a couple of things you might need to know about. Number one, they're going to be a pretty tight security at the State Fair in Lebanon, Tennessee, at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. Tickets are, $12 for adults, $10 online, children 6 to 12. But you're going to have to wear one of those. If you go in with a bag, it's got to be a clear plastic bag, or you can get a gallon-size clear plastic freezer bag. And they're going to be looking at you, and they say diaper bags are okay if accompanied with a baby.
Well, that's kind of important, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of important. I mean, somebody carrying a diaper bag, no baby, I think I'd just turn them around.
That's suspicious, yes.
Send them back out, that's right. 58 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In times of market and economic volatility, gold and silver just might be a safe haven that you're looking for. Listen, Brian Wilson for Nashville Gold and Coin. And if you're looking to buy actual, real, hold it in your hand so you can feel it, gold, silver, or bullion, let me tell you, this is the place I do business, and it's the place I recommend. You'll get honest, friendly customer service and a real precious metals education. But they also specialize in the buying, selling, and appraising of coins. Do you have any idea how much those old coins you have laying around might be worth? I bought in a few silver coins I had in the bottom of a shoebox, buried in my sock drawer forever, and it turned out to be worth $1,652. Now, whether you're in the markets to purchase precious metals or just want to find out what those coins in your closet might be worth, why don't you schedule a one-on-one consultation today? Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
It's 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. 83 degrees, scattered showers possible throughout tonight. Same goes for this weekend, but the heat will tick up, as will that humidity. Complete weather forecast, latest traffic report upcoming in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, an Army Reserve from Mount Juliet, 39-year-old Kenneth Wasson, now in jail, and he's been charged with statutory rape. Wasson met the 15-year-old victim on a dating app. That teenager expressed an interest in the military. Wasson said that he would be able to teach her about the junior ROTC program. He drove to her home in North Nashville with all of his fatigues on and then admitted to officials later about having sex with that victim. Wasson was officially arrested last night. Staying here in Nashville, voters will decide the mayor's race in a runoff next month. Longtime council member Freddie O'Connell is up against Alice Rowley, who thanked supporters last night.
You supported us because you know that after 20 years of electing the same people, our city finances are shaky and that we have more debt in Davidson County than the entire state of Tennessee combined. And if we want to leave this city better for our children and our grandchildren, we have to fix that now.
Rowley got 20% of the vote, Freddie O'Connell 27%, the runoff election set for September 14th. In New York City, Union Square Park had absolute mayhem break out for some time, all because of a very popular Twitch streamer and influencer promoting a giveaway. Police had to set up a barricade. People were able to push through it for a while. Police then began pushing forward as objects, mainly bottles, were flying everywhere. This happened near a construction site, so multiple people found paint cans to throw as well. Tear gas was deployed, and police wearing helmets with batons in hand were then able to section off that crowd. Several arrests have been made, and that streamer, Kai Cenat, promised to give away a number of PS5 video game consoles and is now in law enforcement custody. And still no word on a cause of death for singer Sinead O'Connor, but she's back on the charts. Here's Jason Nathanson.
Sinead O'Connor's song sales and streams have spiked big time since her death. Billboard says since the singer died July 26th, song streams are up almost 2,900%, downloads up more than 5,000%, and album sales up over 1,300%. And because of that, she's topping two charts, the rock and alternative digital song sales charts. O'Connor died in London at the age of 56.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is 6 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We're so glad that you're here on this Friday, the 4th day of August, 2023. We've got a lot of news and information to send your direction. And again, I want to remind you that at 5:35, we do a little thing we like to call Phone Your FARB Friday, where you get to, say whatever's on your mind. I do this radio show a little differently than a lot of radio talk show hosts do. A lot of people just leave the phone lines open and they go to them and it's random. You never know quite what you're going to get. Maybe it's about a topic that you talked about an hour ago. See, I like when I go to the audience, I like to have a question for you, and I like to talk about, a particular topic. And we stay on that topic, and that's a little different than the way most people do it. I think it's more orderly, but I also want to give you an opportunity from time to time to just, throw me a curveball. Whatever, if there's something on your mind that you don't think you're hearing or you missed or you take umbrage with or you got a strong opinion about, that's what it's about. It is, open up the phone lines, anything goes. You never know what you're going to get. And I like that. I like walking the tightrope there. Chris is shaking his head. Chris is shaking his head. No. I like walking the tightrope.
I'm just thinking what you said, you never know what you're going to get. Boy, is that true.
That's true. And sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's like you scratch your head. But anyway, we and a couple of things. This is for if you've never done this before.
It's not going to do any good though. That's the thing.
But I'm still going to try, okay? I'm not going to give up on getting across
I try
this.
every time, and it's still anyway.
The very simple thing, when you get screened by Chris, and he says, hold on, do not go back to the radio. Stay on the phone. Stay on the phone because the radio is like 30 seconds behind, and if I call your name and you're not listening on the phone, we're going to go right past you. You're going to miss your opportunity. And then the other thing, just one other, it's a small thing. I appreciate the nice words and the complimentary things that people say, but just get right to it. That way we can get a lot more calls in, right? I want more calls in. So
I'm gonna make a wager that both of those things will be violated this next round of Phone Your FARB Friday.
You think so? All right.
Yeah.
Well,
it just happens.
It's not that I'm not a friendly guy. I am a friendly guy. I mean, when's the last time anybody put their hands around my neck? Oh, you don't know that story.
Yeah, I missed that. I caught the tail end of that conversation.
Well, Matt Murphy was at a mayoral thing last night, and apparently he had offended the person who did the ads for Alice Raleigh. Yeah. I'm sorry. Excuse me. And he didn't take it too well. And there was a kerfuffle. And I told
Why does
Matt.
that not surprise me? I don't think that's the first time it's ever happened to Matt.
I told Matt, I said, look, I've known you for about 2 years, and I've only wanted to strangle you once or twice. Some people get right to it, apparently.
Yeah, just cut out all the BS. Just go right to it.
Yeah. Apparently, he didn't much care for the criticism of a certain ad that ran.
Nah. Right.
The one that had the sort of the creepy voice at the end?
I wasn't going to say anything, but
okay.
Yeah, I recall that.
Okay, enough of that. We want to talk Trump world. A lot of things going on in Trump world. Yesterday, as you know, he was brought in and 4 more counts. He now has 78 counts pending against him. Listen, I'm telling you, he's absolutely 1,000% right. That this is a political persecution, a political prosecution, and it is absolutely designed to try to do everything that the Democrats can do to throw him off balance and to have him lose, because they want to take him down in the worst way. They're worried about Trump. They're just obsessed with Trump. They do not want him to become the president again, and they're doing everything they can from a legal standpoint. There's just one problem. Every time they throw more at him, they throw a bunch of Do we have our little sound effect? They throw a bunch of stuff right at him, like a bunch of mud. Yeah, just like that. And it doesn't do any good. I mean, it only makes him stronger. He is the Obi-Wan Kenobi.
If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
I mean, the more you attack him, the stronger he gets. His numbers get better. He gets better. People, that were on the border about Trump saying, you know what, this is not right. Maybe I was going to think about somebody else, but I'm moving back to Trump. This is just wrong, and it is just wrong. What's going on here? So let's talk about this case that was brought yesterday. Thin gruel, absolutely thin gruel, and basically what it has to happen here is that they have to prove that Trump knew that the things that he was saying were not true. He knew that the things that he was saying about the election being stolen were not true. And I don't know how you prove what a person believes or what they don't believe, but I know what he said. And well, he heard from other people. Well, he heard from a lot of people. He heard from people who thought, yeah, no, you got beaten fair and square. And he heard from people who said, no, you're getting ripped off here. And he heard from a lot of people. I think he 100% believes that the election was taken from him. He believes that. And he said so, which is his First Amendment right. The Supreme Court has always protected political speech. And Donald Trump believes that, it was taken from him, and he has said so, and somehow that has turned into a criminal charge. Well, if it's a criminal charge to suggest that an election has been stolen, then there's a lot of Democrats who are about to go to jail.
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's a real
what I'm
thing.
scared about in 2020.
But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate? Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
Russia interfered with our election, attacked our democracy for the sole purpose of artificially placing someone at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They were successful.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president-elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do. We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians and may in fact not be a legitimate president.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object because people are horrified. He's an illegitimate president.
So, I mean, this goes on for like 20 minutes. This produced by the way, the RNC, so I want to give them credit.
His election. James Comey and the FBI interfered with his election.
This is the really upsetting thing about it is you have Hillary Clinton saying he's an illegitimate president. He wasn't elected legitimately. And then all these Democrats are pointing to, what happened with the Russian collusion, the Russia stuff. Well, we now know there was nothing to all that. So, if you want to know what's really criminal in my mind, it's Hillary Clinton, who speaks on this thing, more times than I can count, saying that Trump's not a legitimately elected president and that the election was wrongly decided and that something that was not legitimate happened to make him president. Well, I mean, if that's what she's saying, understand she said that full well knowing that the Russian collusion story was something her campaign came up with. Her campaign came up with that. So, that's a crime if you want to ask me. To go out there and to create this narrative that Trump was somehow in collusion with the Russians. We now know there was nothing to that, but they let them linger under that for 3 long years. They lied, and they lied, and they lied about Donald Trump with that regard. There was never any Russian collusion. There was a lot of a lot of things that were going on that was just dirty, dirty, dirty politics on the part of the Democrats to hurt Donald Trump. So why aren't they being charged? Why aren't they being taken to trial? That's a crime, if you want to ask me. Donald Trump is entitled to whatever opinion he wants to hold. It is political speech that he is accused of speaking. It's just that some people disagree with it. Well, I disagree with what these people were saying. All of these Democrats. A lot of people, could have a word with the Democrats about that one. So I don't think if this case is based on speech, what's good for the goose ought to be good for the gander. Let's bring some more charges, okay? This is a worthless, very weak case to be brought against Donald Trump, and I think it should be thrown out on its rights. Well, let's talk about that for a moment. Yesterday, one of the things I said was, this case, they might get a conviction in D.C. Why? Well, because in D.C., I forget what it is. It's like 2-1 Democrats, 2-1 Democrats. So about the same in Nashville, by the way. In D.C., for every Republican, there are 2 Democrats. And if you look at the last election, 92% of the vote in the District of Columbia went for Joe Biden. So, Democrats are very strong politically in D.C., Republicans not so much. And so, that's the jury pool. And so, yeah, they might get a conviction. They got an indictment out of that jury pool. Now they'll probably get a conviction, and then it will go to the Court of Appeals. And I'm not sure, depending on which judges you get in the Court of the Appeals, how that'll all go. But at the end of the day, I said, if it gets to the Supreme Court, he will win because it's speech. It's political speech, which is always protected by the Constitution. I don't know how you can even begin to prove that case. So, I thought, well, that's a pretty good idea. Just, wait for the Supreme. But how long will that take? He's running a campaign, and it might take a while to make it to the Supremes, but not if Mark Levin is right. Conservative radio host and litigator Mark Levin said on Thursday on his show that Donald Trump's lawyers should file an emergency request with the U.S. Supreme Court to stop the prosecutions. Levin argued that special counsel Jack Smith, who he noted is not a presidential appointee, was using the indictments of Trump as political weapons to tarnish him as a candidate. He observed that Smith had asked federal judges in both the documents case filed in Miami and the January 6 case filed in Washington to carry out a speedy trial. That, he said, seemed designed to affect Trump's chances in the upcoming election and to divert Trump's time and money from campaigning to defending himself. The fact is, this is the kind of legal warfare against a president and possible, if not likely, opponent to the president is not only unprecedented in the history of our republic, it will destroy our electoral system for all time, Levin argued. He says, take it straight to the Supremes. Well, if that's an option, he's right. And it would appear that Trump has heard Mark Levin and maybe others, because here we have, from thehill.com, former President Trump calling on the Supreme Court to intercede in the legal battles he's facing. He made a post this morning on Truth Social, repeated accusations that President Biden is pushing the cases against him for political purposes. Trump said that multiple cases against him will require massive amounts of time and money and will force him to use resources on court battles that could have been used for advertisement and rallies. I'm leading in all polls, including against Crooked Joe, but this is not a level playing field. It's election interference, and I think he's right. I think he's absolutely 1,000% right. So take it to the Supremes. Let's see if we can find a way around all of this nonsense. A trial in a town where he will not get a fair shake, and an appeals court that would be stacked against him. Just take it to the Supremes. Let's get it done. So we know what we have. This is a weak case, and the Supremes will throw it out. It is 21 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk. All right, listen, let me tell you about EverSeal. And you may ask yourself, well, Brian, I've heard you talk about EverSeal, but I'm not clear on exactly what it is. Well, it's a patent sealant that is designed, it was used for years in industrial applications. It's designed to protect your wood and concrete. And the folks over at EverSeal have taken it from the industrial world and have come up with a way to do this at a price that home and business owners can actually afford. Process starts with a deep cleaning. They go down and make your clean and your wood and concrete as clean as it possibly can be. And then they use their patented sealant, which absorbs all the way through the material to become a permanent part of your wood or concrete and will prevent any further deterioration for the next 30 to 50 years. 30 to 50 years. Wow. That's amazing. And think about how much money you'll save. Just think about your deck. You seal it every year, right? Think about how much money you will save after 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 25 years. You see this adds up very quickly. Do it once and be done with it and just enjoy your deck. Enjoy your property without having to worry about all of these sealants. If this sounds like something that you'd be interested in, reach out to Steve Nelson and the team over at EverSeal. Here is the way you do that. 1-844-EVER-USA. 1-844-EVER-USA. Learn more at ever-seal.com.
Chaos in New York City, all over the promise of some PS5s, crime in Tennessee, and a murder case in Idaho with another twist. I'll have those stories and more at 5:30. I'm Mac Morey here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, I have some bad news, guys, and I think you will agree this is a sad moment. I've seen it on social media. I believe it to be true. They're tearing down the rocket.
Yeah, I saw that. What's up with that? I thought the last I heard, they said they were going to keep it.
Well, no, I think what they're trying to do is figure out if there's another rocket they can put up there. But I mean, this is the as you're going south. Let's say you're going to the beach, you're going to Birmingham, and you get just across the state line, and it was always sort of oh look, there's the rocket.
Yep,
they're tearing it down. They've already closed that rest stop. The welcome center, the rest stop has just already been closed down for some time now. But apparently people driving by there have reported that they're starting to take down the rocket.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Which was, does anybody know what it was? Anybody know what kind of rocket it was? I do.
Tell us.
Saturn,
go right ahead.
Saturn S1B.
All right.
That was my next
now,
guess.
The biggest rocket that they made back in the this was all having to do with the Apollo program to go to the moon. They ultimately used what they call the Saturn V rocket, which was much bigger.
Bigger, yeah.
But there were some on the way there. There were sometimes they didn't need that much lift because they were working on a program where they needed to do things like figure out how to dock with another vehicle in space. They'd never done it before. Now we do it all the time, but remember that this was stuff that you had a limb and you had to figure out how to pull it out and you had to make sure that it would work and so they weren't going into lunar injection orbit. See how much of a geek I am about this stuff.
Wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, and so they didn't need quite as big a rocket, so they made several S1Bs. And if you saw it next to a Saturn V, you'd say, wow, that's not much of a rocket. But it looked pretty good going down the highway, I'll tell you that. The reason I know this is that being sort of a space geek, I would fly by and I'd say, that doesn't look like an S5. That doesn't look like a Saturn V. What is that? What is it? And I finally just pulled over one day and went over and read the little plaque. And then I found out it's an S1B.
Small. There you go.
Yeah, but anyway, they're taking it down, and I think this is horrible. I think they don't understand what that rocket meant to people. I don't know why, but it meant a lot to a lot of people. I mean, it's way better than seeing a Buc-ee's sign.
Whoa! I do get pretty excited when I see those signs. So
maybe I'm wrong about that. I could be wrong. But I wanted to see the rocket. I always liked it when I saw the rocket, and I used to drive that route a lot when I had a beach house. And I go down there all the time, and the rocket was always a highlight. Well, the rocket is gone, my friend. Rocket is gone.
That's too bad.
All right. It is now 29 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. Let's call it 30 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk.
You heard your friend and radio buddy. It's 5:30. Mac Morey with your top stories. 83 degrees right now in Nashville. A hot and humid weekend ahead with feels like temperatures in the triple digits. Some scattered showers here and there expected as well in Middle Tennessee. Complete forecast, latest traffic report upcoming in 5 minutes. Chaos in New York City's Union Square Park over a social media influencer's promise to give away free PlayStations. Thousands of people showed up, catching officials off guard. Josh Enger is on scene with details on the police response.
They have called what they describe as a level 4 mobilization. That's the highest level of mobilization that the NYPD has. That means they have cops coming in here from all over the city, from every single precinct command in all 5 boroughs to try to help.
And that influencer, Kai Cenat, is now in police custody, and he streams on Twitch while playing video games and critiquing games. Right now in Tennessee, Metro Police investigating a shooting after a teenager was found dead in his car at an apartment complex. This was off of Harding Place. The 16-year-old has been identified as Diego Morente Chiroy. Police say he took a relative's car without their knowing of it. There's a reward of $5,000 being offered to any information that leads to an arrest of a suspect. And Idaho, it's one of the few states where prosecutors can compel the defense to say if they intend to introduce an alibi at trial. So the attorney, man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students last year, claims to have an alibi for the night in question, his car. Mola Langhi explains.
Brian Koberger, the man accused of killing 4 Idaho college students, offering an alibi, claiming he was in his car when the murders happened. Koberger's attorney saying in a new court filing, Mr. Koberger has long had a habit of going for drives alone. Often he would go for drives at night. However, he is not claiming to be at a specific location at a specific time, and that there is not a specific witness to say precisely where he was.
No specifics were given to back up that claim, but Koberger's attorney did say a witness could be possible after having a look at discovery materials. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Let me tell you about Beacon Capital Management and something they're doing that could be a real benefit to you. We'd love for you to join us over at the Marriott in Cool Springs on August 17th at 10:30 for what Beacon calls a market halftime report. Now, you know, the big thing at Beacon is they love to look at what you got and then make some financial adjustments and just make minor adjustments to make sure you're directly on the beam for what you hope to accomplish with your retirement accounts. And so this is called a market halftime report. They go over the things that are going on, the trends, the opportunities, the things that are happening to make sure that you're making the right decisions with some of the most important investments that you make, the ones that you're going to count on when it's time to retire. So, you know, you'll hear from John Maxon, and you'll hear from Pete Benson, and you'll hear from Dan Benson, and I'll be there, and I would love to shake your hand. I'll have the opening remarks at 10:30, again, on the 17th of August at the Marriott in Cool Springs. And I hope that you will join us. Now, to get your RSVP in, I think the best thing to do is to go to beaconcm.com or to actually pick up the phone and call them, 615-488-9303. That's 615-488-9303. And again, tell them your friend and radio buddy, Brian Wilson, sent you. 38 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Hey, you know what? It's my favorite time of the week. We do this at 4:35 and 5:35 on Fridays, it's your chance to sound off something we call Phone Your FARB Friday. That's right. We want to know what's on your mind. 615-737-9986. Phone lines are open now. 615-737-9986. Maybe you got a bee in your bonnet. Maybe you got to burn your setter. Maybe you got a bug place you don't want a bug. But that doesn't matter. Just get on the phone and call us and tell us what's on your mind. Maybe you want to take umbrage. Maybe you got a point you want to make. Maybe you heard something a few days ago and you just want to follow up on it because I didn't have the phones open at the time. 615-737-9986. I love Phone Your FARB Friday. Let's start with Calvin in Lebanon. Calvin, good afternoon. You're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Calvin?
Yes, Brian, I'm just pretty pissed. I've had to sit down, me and my wife, and I don't know how people are surviving that have kids. We have had to sit down and take our luxuries off the grocery list because we just can't afford to eat anymore. And I was eating just fine when Trump was in. And I tell you the truth, I think suffering is what it's going to take for people to get a change in the White House. And I wish the oil companies, who they're bound to get out of, they're getting away from oil. Just raise the price of gasoline to $5 today and higher if you can get it between now and the 24 election. And maybe we will wake some people up. You're just going to have to hit people hard in the pocket. But this is the first time I've ever had to sit down and say, I can do without this, I can do without that. They are choking us off financially, and they ain't going to stop until they do it. So there's my bee out of my bonnet.
Man, I hear you. And yes, indeed, some wages have gone up, but inflation has gone up more. And no matter, even if you're making a little more money than you did, you still can't keep up with the cost of inflation. And so many people now are having to turn to their credit cards. And then, then they get hit again because, the rates, the credit card interest rates are just through the roof. And they've gone up as a result of this president's policy. So, yeah, I think so. And I read a story the other day, just to put a finer point on it, that many black male voters were not enamored so much with what was going on with the Democrats, and that they were more inclined to vote for Trump because they remember minority employment was at an all-time high. Look, if you ask the question, are you better off under Trump or under Biden, it's a pretty easy question to answer, don't you think? I hope a lot of people will be asking that question. But Biden gets no points for his handling of the economy. He's in real trouble in that regard. John in Woodbury, by the way, got some open lines, 615-737-9986. John in Woodbury, what's on your mind today?
Afternoon, Brian. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. I listen most of the time, first-time caller. I got to take a little bit of umbrage with you. Okay. You said earlier, 30, 40 minutes ago, that the Trump prosecution is motivated by the Biden administration. Well, the facts would imply that he took the documents, wouldn't give them back, the FBI to raid, and then he hid the documents twice. It's on tape, and they have two witnesses. Now, how can you not prosecute that?
Well, that's not what I was talking about. No, that's not what I was talking about. I was talking about the charges that were brought yesterday, which I think are very thin gruel, that suggests that he somehow, by speaking his mind, was trying to overturn the last election, and I don't believe that. I don't believe that is true. I don't think that his language is a thing that he can be prosecuted for. It's called political speech, and so no, I wasn't really talking about the documents case. I was talking more about the case that has just been brought against him in a court of law. The documents case, I think ultimately there are some pretty compelling points that his lawyers are going to be able to make. But that was not my reference. John in Nashville. John, hello, John. You're up with Brian on the drive. What do you say, John?
Okay, I got 2 points about Trump. Don't let me forget. Okay, so back in 2007, me and a bunch of friends that were just legitimate Trump fans were talking about him as a president. And I've got to say that if he ran as a Democrat and he wasn't going up against Hillary Clinton, I would have voted for him because I don't believe him switching teams changed his policy one bit. That's the first point.
Yeah, the second point.
The second point is early voting. Everybody in the Republican ticket is running off of his playbook. So with that, he's the only one with proof of concept. So, you know, I know that you're not an early voting guy or anything like that, but you know, knowing that everybody, even the Democrats, are going to use his playbook, and the Democrats will be fine with that. But
well, if you've been following, I was never a big fan of voting early because I like to have all the facts before I cast my ballot. I like to know everything that's in. I don't want to get down to the last days and then something drops and I go, well, now I'm not sure I can vote for that person anymore. I've had that experience and I don't like it. But I'm giving up on that because I think ultimately the bigger gain here is to make sure that you're matching the Democrats step for step. They're very good at early voting and bundling when it's allowed and this, that, and the other. And so I think that, you know, the Republican Party has already made the moves to start moving that direction. Trump has embraced it. I embrace it. You know, it's going to be, you got to play the same game that they're playing. Or I don't think we'll ever be able to prevail again. So, you know, I'm over that, and I'm in favor of the early voting. And you know, I think Trump, if everything stands as it is today, he's going to be the nominee. There's very little that I see on the horizon that changes that. Thank you for the call, John. Appreciate it. Glenda in Smyrna. Glenda, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Glenda?
Well, Brian, I want to know if you've heard about the 2 new indictments they've got coming down.
Now, is this a joke or is this something serious?
Well, the first one is for spitting on the sidewalk. The next one's for kicking his dog.
Yeah. Listen, what else are they going to come up with? I mean, and it is interesting. I mean, somebody made the point, I think his attorney, Alina Haba, I think is her name. She made the point yesterday, I thought it's pretty good, that every time something happens bad in Biden world, there's something that follows a new round of indictments or a new action against Trump. And it's like watching a tennis match or a ping pong match, back and forth, back and forth. And it's really true. I mean, it's almost laughable. Every single time that something bad happens that makes the Biden family investigation look more interesting, boom, something will happen and they'll lob something in Trump's direction. It's been happening. And again, I think these charges that they were talking about yesterday, pretty thin, really thin. Okay, let's see who else is out there. Let's go to Dawn in Nashville. Dawn, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Dawn?
Hi, Brian. I had a quick question for you, please. Yesterday afternoon, you were talking about the indictments against Trump, and you had mentioned back in your reporting days that you were standing on the corner of Constitutional Avenue, just right across from the Capitol, and that you were watching the events of the day unfold.
That's right.
You had mentioned that you saw a lot of people at the Capitol already before Trump finished his speech at the Ellipse.
That's true.
My question is, have you offered yourself up to the defense team as an eyewitness to the events of the day?
Well, listen, I know I have not, and I don't know that they'd be interested in my observation. My observation could have been made by a lot of people. But the bottom line is that I was standing there directly across from the Capitol and watching people walk up Pennsylvania Avenue, and then I was, I was also paying attention to what was happening on the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue with that speech. And there were a whole lot of people that were already on the Capitol grounds long before Trump ever took podium. And I don't know when the first tear gas canister went off, but I would tell you that if the allegation is that Trump got people riled up, and then if they stormed down Pennsylvania Avenue and started kicking in doors and windows, that's not the way it went down. It wasn't his speech. There were people who were there who definitely wanted to get into the Capitol, who definitely wanted to make a point, but it wasn't, as a response to what the president was saying on the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, because they were already there. They'd been there for some time. Now, there were a lot of people who were coming down the street as the president's speech was underway, and there were people who came down afterwards, but it was all starting to happen by then. It certainly was. Thank you for the call. Greatly appreciate it. How about, very quickly, somebody who calls himself Just Another Joe, and from Nashville. Just Another Joe, you're on with Brian on the Drive. What do you say?
Say, did you know that there was a black Republican running for mayor that got no support from the Republican Party?
You're talking about Natisha Brooks?
I am.
Well, I'm aware of her. I have talked to Natisha. I think I had Natisha on my show. I know Matt Murphy did. Yeah, I knew that. But, I don't know what is your point?
My point is, I think one of the best things for the Republican Party is to have some minorities in the party.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with you on that, but you've got to run a good campaign. I think she got 1% of the vote. So, there's that. All right, thank you for the calls. It is now 50 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies, and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.
A Tennessee soldier charged with statutory rape, a runoff election in the Nashville mayoral race, and mayhem in New York City, all from an influencer's promise to give away something at Union Square Park. I'll have those stories and more at 6 o'clock. Mac Maury, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
It is 56 minutes now past the hour. Coming up, the last hour of the week as we wrap up our Friday, August 4th. Yes, I'm going to go there one more time because I believe the truth is out there. So if you're with me on that, or if you have doubts, see how you feel after this next segment. It's all straight ahead right here on The Drive on this Friday, August 4th. Have you ever noticed how unreliable things are these days? Like someone tells you this thing will be ready at 4 p.m. and then you get there at 4 p.m. and it's not. I mean, people really hate that kind of stuff. If you've had it with unreliable vehicle repair shops, why don't you come to EuroFix? They turn unreliable into reliable, and EuroFix has your vehicle ready when it's supposed to be ready, so you're not standing around tapping your toe, wasting your time. Listen, it's really about, saving a buck here. EuroFix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer without dealer pricing. That's because the dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of the dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of money. Why would you want to pay for that? At EuroFix, reliable means a 3-year nationwide warranty. It means a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Make sure you call ahead, as loaner cars are very popular. And if you're tired of unreliable repair shops, just come to where it is reliable. EuroFix, family owned for 24 years. Call 844-EuroFix or visit myEuroFix.com. That's myEuroFix.com.
Six o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Expecting some scattered showers throughout the weekend, off and on, nothing too strong. And it is going to be hot and humid. Feels like temperatures in the triple digits. Forecast, latest traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. Right now in the volunteer state, an Army Reserve for Mount Juliet, 39-year-old Kenneth Wasson, now in jail, has been charged with statutory rape. Wasson met the 15-year-old victim on a dating app. The teenager expressed an interest in the military, and Wasson said that he'd be able to teach her about the junior ROTC program. He then drove to her home in Nashville with his fatigues on and admitted to officials about having sex with this 15-year-old victim. Wasson was arrested last night. Staying here in Music City, voters will decide the mayor's race in a runoff next month. Longtime Councilmember Freddie O'Connell is up against Alice Rowley, who thanked supporters last night.
You supported us because you know that after 20 years of electing the same people, our city finances are shaky and that we have more debt in Davidson County than the entire state of Tennessee combined. And if we want to leave this city better for our children and our grandchildren, we have to fix that now.
Rowley got 20% of the vote, Freddie O'Connell 27%. That runoff election set for September 14th. In some other election results, Vice Mayor Jim Schulman is out. Councilmember Angie Henderson beat him with 52% of the vote. And both expelled members of the General Assembly, Nashville's Justin Jones and Memphis's Justin Pearson, won back their state house seats. As for Nashville's other house seat vacated by the death of Bill Beck, community organizer Afton Ben won the primary and will now face Republican David C. Heuven and independent candidate Annabelle Lee in the general election on September 14th. In New York City, thousands of people flooded Union Square in response to a social media influencer's promise to give away big prizes. Police eventually managed to restore order, making arrests in the process. This person says she walked out of the Union Square subway station and immediately knew she needed to get herself and her infant daughter to safety.
I come outside and the park is just literally filled with people, like crawling with people. And next thing I know, there's a whole bunch of cops that come by and they got riot shields and they're tear gassing people, shooting people with BB guns.
And that Twitch streamer, Kai Cenat, is now in police custody. His demographic is mainly people who play video games. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. It's 6 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. I am your friend and radio buddy on this Friday. It's Friday. We just got one more hour, and we'll call it a weekend. And I think you got the big Grand Prix race down in Nashville
That's right.
this weekend. And it's going to be hot. I think it's going to be hot on Saturday and potential storms on Sunday.
And it's going to be messy just getting around in the downtown area this weekend, too.
I know.
I mean, it normally is, but
I did the first Grand Prix thing, and it was quite the experience. Dadgum near killed me. I've told the story, but I won't bore you with it again. But I mean, it was a heck of a thing to get to, the hot weather, and the hike that you had to do to get to some of those seats was considerable. It was really quite and I'm telling you, people were dropping like flies. It was so hot on that one. But I haven't been back since. But it's a cool thing. It really is a very cool thing.
it is. It really is. But I saw a story this morning that said they're coming back next year and they're going to move it right into the heart of downtown.
Really?
So that would be interesting.
Because they may well be in the middle of all that construction over there for the new
that's
stadium.
True. That's
I
very
think
true.
that's probably what it's all about. Well, that'll be fun and that'll be interesting. And I'm, again, have a good time. I'll watch it on TV because
that's a better view, honestly.
it's hot. So anyway, a very exciting weekend in Nashville. Want to start with a discussion of where we are in the Hunter Biden investigation. We talk about Trump because it was in the news yesterday, but we don't want to lose sight of the fact that this investigation into the Hunter Biden family enterprise, the family syndicate, is ongoing, and it is really becoming increasingly difficult for the Biden people to make the case that they weren't taking bribes. Basically, let's just cut right to it. Let's just call it what it is. It's getting harder and harder and harder to make that case. And so many people say, well, the phone, he called in and the phone was put on speaker and they talked about the weather. You know what? Right then and there, that's an incredibly important part of influence peddling. What Hunter Biden was doing by doing that was showing his clients. He was asking them to pay them a lot of money. And what was the return on that? It wasn't Hunter Biden's stellar understanding of the oil industry. It wasn't some ability that Hunter Biden had. Everybody understood that if you pay money to Hunter Biden, you'll have access to the old man. You'll have at least his ear, and you can talk to him about the things. And we have evidence that indeed did happen one time. Hunter Biden on the board of Burisma. Do you want to play the long one or you want to play the short one? I mean, I'll play because I haven't done it in a while. I'll play the long one this time. He's Hunter Biden is working for Burisma. Burisma's got a problem. There's a prosecutor that's just giving them the devil, and they want to get rid of this prosecutor in the worst way, right? And so they put Hunter Biden, and they start doing business with all of the enterprises that he's associated with. And then, I don't know, a short time later, the vice president makes a trip to Ukraine. He's supposed to deliver $1 billion in loan guarantees, your money and my money, taxpayer money, not his money. And he says, I'm going to leave here in 6 hours, and, I'm not going to give you the money guarantees unless you fire that prosecutor. They said, whoa, what? Yeah, no, I'm not going to give you the money. And he actually, I'll tell you how stupid Joe Biden is. He actually bragged about it at an appearance at a foreign policy think tank thing that he did. He actually acknowledged and told this story. Hold it. No. No, we're going to get the full benefit of that. Let me turn that up a little bit. Here we go. Here is Joe Biden.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others, to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Yeah. How about that? Dad was doing the bidding of Hunter Biden for a client. This for that. I mean, this is the thing that this right here is the one that's probably going to hang him, and it's been out there forever. He does the bidding, and he makes a threat, and
well, son of a bitch, got fired.
He got fired. I don't know how in the world that this is not influence peddling. I don't understand it. So a lot has been said about Devin Archer and his transcribed interview that it was done last week before the House Oversight Committee. And he has pushed back, Devin Archer, following, some people have said, well, Devin Archer didn't actually do anything that hurt Joe Biden, and he says no, that's not true. Devin Archer, this is from the Washington Examiner. Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's former business partner, pushed back on claims by Democrats that President Joe Biden was never involved in his son's foreign business in any way. Categorically false, he told Tucker Carlson in a lengthy interview that was published on Friday. He was aware of Hunter Biden's business. He met with Hunter Biden's business partners. Democrats attempted to claim that Archer's testimony was consistent with Joe Biden's previous statements about foreign contacts Hunter Biden landed while his father was in office. Until recently, Joe Biden had long claimed he never even discussed business with his son. Archer, who served on the board of a Ukrainian energy company alongside Hunter Biden, said he did not hear Joe Biden discuss specific business matters during the approximately 20 times the then vice president was placed on speakerphone during meetings, nor did substantive business matters arise during the dinners and meetings. I don't think Joe Biden looked at a balance sheet or any financial documents, Archer said in an hour-long interview. But Archer said the mere presence of Joe Biden at those meetings and the perceived ability to get him on the phone anytime was the core of Hunter Biden's foreign business deals, and that Joe Biden knowingly participated. In other words, just the fact that you could get the old man on the phone was all that you needed for these people to pony up millions of dollars. I mean, there's an interesting little thing in here, in this description that Joe Biden has, where he says, well, wait, you're not the president. Remember he says that?
And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him.
Well, hold on a minute there. Did they call him? No. You know why? Because they didn't want to call. It was a bluff by Joe Biden. I don't know what would have happened if they had called Barack Obama. Barack Obama may have been fully aware of it, as far as I know. But he said, hey, you want to call the old man? Go ahead. Well, no. See, he was the vice president of the United States, one heartbeat away from the presidency. Second most powerful man in American politics, Vice President Joe Biden at the time. When he spoke, it was as if he was speaking on behalf of the Obama administration. He was speaking, when he spoke on behalf of Obama. He was the vice president, and they took that message seriously. So I wonder if Obama knew, And, remember, how Obama bragged. Oh, I remember it. Well, we're wrapping up 8 years here, and unlike other presidents, there's been no scandal on the Obama watch. There's been no scandal. Well, yeah, there was a scandal. It just took us a while to find out about it. Did you know, Mr. President Obama, did you know what your vice president was doing? Did you know he was doing all this on behalf of his son? Certainly, he had to have known. And if he did, then I think there's we can have a moment with him as well. I'd like to have a conversation with you, Barack. This story from the Washington Times. A wealthy foreigner gave Hunter Biden a sports car after a dinner with the big guy. Kazakhstan businessman Kenis Rakishev inexplicably wired $142,000 to Hunter Biden in April of 2014 so he could buy himself a sports car. Mr. Rakishev sent the money around the same time that then Vice President Biden dined with him at a Washington restaurant at Hunter's request. This is the so-called Cafe Milano dinner. The details of the gifted car were revealed by Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devon Archer, during 4 hours of testimony before House investigators and memorialized in a newly released transcript. Asked why Mr. Rakishev had wired the money, Archer said it was for President Biden's son to purchase a pricey car. Archer said that Hunter had at first purchased a Fisker Electric, but then changed over to a Porsche. Archer did not know the reason for the payment. It was a business matter between them. I think it was just out of gratitude for the introduction and for being heard before the vice president at a dinner at Cafe Milano. $149,000. Or what was it? $142,000. Why in the world would a Kazakhstan businessman give Hunter Biden $142,000? Did he just liked him? Thought he was an interesting fellow? No, it was payback. Payback for being at that dinner at Cafe Milano. I'm telling you, the House Oversight Committee is zeroing in. And this is getting better and better and better. When you hear the Speaker of the House say we may have to have an impeachment inquiry, I think one is in the offing. And I think that they've done a very good job of building a case that could have been built at any time if there had only been somebody in a position to issue subpoenas or who wanted to issue subpoenas. It took the Republicans taking back the House to shake this thing loose. And it's not over. It ain't over. And I think Joe Biden and Hunter Biden have got some serious problems ahead. I don't know how you could be the nominee with all of the legal problems and the allegations of influence peddling and bribery, accepting bribes. How can you possibly become the Democrat nominee? We're watching it. We're on it. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. All right, let me tell you about the Nashville Armory ranges, 2 locations for your convenience. The first one is at 4290 Kennelwood Drive in Nashville, over 15,000 square feet, which combines, retail, classrooms, and, of course, pistol and rifle-rated ranges so that you can learn to become proficient and stay that way. The second location, the Franklin Range at 390 South Winds Drive. There you'll find 10 state-of-the-art shooting ranges equipped with automatic target control and custom shooting stalls that provide a virtually private shooting experience. And the folks who work there, well, they pride themselves on hiring folks with the expertise to advise experienced shooters, but they also will have the patience to guide those new to the 2A world. No attitude, no pressure. Gunsmithing, by the way, is back at the Nashville range. If you're buying your first gun or adding to the collection, you'll find a wide selection of new and pre-owned firearms, suppressors, optics, apparel, and shooting accessories. It's the place to buy. It's the place to train. It's the place to become a really good shot. Learn more. Go to armoryranges.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you. It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Good evening. As you know, we had a mayoral election in Nashville, and they had so many people running that they were never going to be able to get somebody with 50%. So we have a runoff, which is scheduled for September 14th. And it's interesting because the two people who are going to be matched up are Freddie O'Connell, longtime member of the council, and someone known as to fewer people. Her name is Alice Rowley, and she came in second. And so she has sort of positioned herself as a conservative, and the argument has been, look, you know, there are enough conservatives that in libertarians and people who are just fed up that if they would just show up that, you know, we could win this thing. Well, I think that's a pretty good argument, and I think that's not a bad argument to make. I want to offer up a different idea. if you want to prevail, I think in the coming election, and I hope that you do, because I think we need a change in Nashville. Freddie O'Connell is well known. We know his track record. We know, he served on the council. He's the insider, and you're the outsider, Alice. You are the outsider. You're the person who can come in and rattle cages, and I think you can make that case to the people who live in Nashville, because I wouldn't put this in terms of conservative or liberal. What I would do is I would put it in terms of I am the outsider. I'm going to come in and we're going to sweep, we're going to change, we're going to make big, get you a broom and come out in a press conference and we're going to clean house, we're going to sweep house, we're going to do something different. And if you're tired of the way Nashville government is being run, if you're tired of what's happening in your city and you want somebody to look at it with a fresh set of eyes, then that would be me, Alice Rowley. And I think you could have a very powerful argument. You will get the conservative votes that are out there. I did a little research earlier today. In Davidson County, it is 64% Democrat, 32.4% Republican. So let's say you pick up, the Republican votes that are available, and you motivate. They're gonna be there for you anyway. Make the case to those people who are Democrats that you want to come in and change the dynamic of the way things are done in Nashville. That you're the outsider, he's the insider. We're tired of the way things are running. We're not happy with the way the government is run. We're not happy with the things that have been happening. I'm going to come in and with a fresh set of eyes and a more fiscally responsible approach to the government. I think you're going to have a winning campaign. Now that doesn't mean that Freddie's going to sit over there. Fast Freddie's going to sit over there and not say anything. And it's going to get really, really passionate, and because the Democrats don't want to let go of this. But I think we're in the mood. I mean, my sense of it is, when I talk to people who live in Nashville, they're not happy with the way the government is run. They're not happy with the way things are going, and they would be open to something new. So you're the outsider, he's the insider. That's what I would go with. I think that's a very powerful argument to make, and I think one that will find favor with more than a few Democrats, and you might be able to pull this off. So there you have that. I mean, listen, I will say this. There was a time and a place where the only thing I truly cared about as a commentator is that I have a mayor that I could mock. Because I've had some good ones. I had, Megan Barry, then Mayor Briley, then Mayor Minnie Cooper. A lot of people, for me to make fun of, and that's of course the thing that I was hoping. I think I could have had a lot of fun with Fast Freddie, but what I really want is I want better government in Nashville. You say, well, Wilson, you live way out there in the country. You know what? No, that's really not true. Let's talk about that for a moment, because yeah, I live in a small town in Wilson County, and I live in bucolic Watertown, and I don't live in the city, but when I go traveling around the country, and when you go traveling around the country, people say, where are you from? You don't say, I'm from Smyrna. No, you say, I'm from Nashville. You just go ahead and say, I live in, in the Nashville area. We take pride in, we work there, we play there. We have more than a passing interest. We don't have a vote there, but I'm hoping that Alice Raleigh is going to, get off to a good start here. And I'll even forego the possibility of having a mockable mayor if she can pull this off. 30 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Let me tell you about the folks over at DT McCall's. Good people. They've been in business more than 100 years. Now, how do you make it more than 100 years? Well, you make it by having a great reputation for treating your customers right. That's right, being an honest business that treats people right. And I think they do. It's been my experience. I've got a lot of stuff from DT McCall in my house, and I can tell you, I had a great experience each and every time I went down there. So here's the thing: if you're looking for appliances or furniture, something for your house, maybe you need a mower. Man, I can't tell you how much I love my Cub Cadet zero-turn mower. It's just my favorite thing in the whole world. Gun safes, whatever it is, you're going to find a huge selection, and that's really important. Sometimes, if you deal in the big box stores, you find, okay, I'm buying this appliance, and they give me what looks like a great number. And so you say, yeah, let's go with that. And then they come back to you with a series of questions. Hey, do you want the cords and the hoses? What about, you want it delivered? Well, of course you want it delivered. You want it hauled away? The old thing? Yeah, I want the old thing hauled away. Well, and they add a little something to every one of those, and you find out that price that they quoted you was not such a good price. At DT McCall, you get an honest price, it's a good price, and you'll get free delivery, free setup, and free haul away. Whenever possible, DT McCall sells products that are made and manufactured in the state of Tennessee, keeping the dollars local. That's what they're all about. So 5 convenient locations. Find out more about DT McCall and all the things they can do for your house just going to their website, dtmccalls.com. .39 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Just a few more minutes before we hand it over to Mark Levin. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to admit something. I am rather obsessed about this topic. I'm someone who studied this, and I've watched it for a long, long time. I am agnostic as to whether or not there are UFOs or UAPs. I'm waiting for the solid evidence. I've never seen one. I've never had any experience, but I have watched government for a very, very, very long time. And things are happening in this regard that I think we have to take very seriously. Because, this program believes that eventually we'll find out that the truth is out there. A monumental UFO scandal is looming. Now, this didn't come from, Page 6. This doesn't come from some tabloid. This comes from thehill.com. And it's it's just straight reporting about some of the hearings they've had up there of late. And I want to read through this. I'm going to read extensively from it because I think they make a very powerful case that something is about to break in this regard. Okay, you ready? A monumental UFO scandal is looming. The decades-long saga of unidentified flying objects is barreling headlong toward one of two stunning conclusions. Either the U.S. government has mounted an extraordinary, decades-long cover-up of UFO retrieval and reverse engineering activities, or elements of the defense and intelligence establishment are engaging in a staggeringly brazen psychological disinformation campaign. Now, either one of those things would have profound implications for democracy, the role of government, and perhaps also humanity's place in the cosmos. For these reasons, it's imperative that Congress and the federal law enforcement agencies devote significant resources to investigating a series of remarkable UFO-related developments. Importantly, a third explanation for recent events that dozens of high-level, highly cleared officials have come to believing enduring UFO myths, rumors, and speculation as fact appears increasingly unlikely. In June, U.S. Air Force veteran and former intelligence official David Grush alleged that elements of the U.S. government have secretly and illegally overseen a decades-long UFO retrieval and reverse engineering effort. Two defense officials corroborated the broad contours of Grush's stunning claims. Grush has stated that he provided a wealth of highly classified evidence to the powerful internal investigative agencies overseeing the Department of Defense and the U.S. intelligence community. By the investigative agencies, he means the inspector generals. But he has not presented any such evidence publicly. However, the officials and lawmakers have reviewed Grush's classified evidence, are taking his extraordinary allegations seriously. I'll repeat that. The officials and lawmakers who have reviewed Grush's classified evidence are taking his extraordinary allegations seriously. The Inspector General of the intelligence community deemed Grush's allegations that UFO-related information was inappropriately concealed from Congress to be credible and urgent. Let's stop there for a moment. The Inspector General of the intelligence community, every major agency in Washington has an Inspector General. And if you think something's wrong or if you think something has not been handled correctly, you bring it to the attention of the Inspector General, and the Inspector General is generally allowed to have a great deal of latitude to investigate these issues. So listen again. The Inspector General of the intelligence community deemed Grush's allegations that UFO-related information was inappropriately concealed from Congress to be credible and urgent. Senate Intelligence Vice Chairman Marco Rubio confirmed the Inspector General's findings. Rubio, senator from Florida, he's the vice chairman of the Intelligence Committee on the Senate side, is confirming what the Inspector General has said. So let's just back up a little bit. The information was that information was being concealed from Congress, and the Inspector General said that's a credible and urgent argument, and then you got Marco Rubio saying he agrees. I, Charles McCullough III, the intelligence community's first Inspector General, now an attorney in private practice, represents Grush, and listen to this, and sat directly behind him during a July 26 congressional hearing. It is extremely unlikely that such a high-profile lawyer and former top federal official would represent anyone making the kinds of extraordinary claims that Grush is making without robust evidence. When asked during the July 26 congressional hearings whether he believes the U.S. government possesses UFOs, Grosh said absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years. Grosh said, I know the exact locations of retrieved UFOs, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and to the Congressional Intelligence Committees. Critically, Grosh stated, I actually had the people with firsthand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General. Well, what are they telling the Inspector General? Why is the former Inspector General standing behind Grosh, which is a very public signal that he supports what he is saying? These are people who had a real understanding of what was going on inside the intelligence community. Grosh says, I know the exact locations of retrieved UFOs, and those locations have been provided to the Inspector General and, in turn, to the Congressional Intelligence Committees. Why are they not then telling us where they are? Because it's classified. That would be classified information, and nobody wants to break a classified bit of information because you can go to jail for that. It is unlikely, the Hill.com continues, it is unlikely that Grosh, speaking to Congress under oath, would perjure himself so brazenly over specific falsifiable facts, particularly with this high-profile attorney sitting directly behind him. To that end, it is safe to assume that more than 36 individuals did indeed tell Grosh of decades-long UFO retrieval and reverse engineering programs, and that those with firsthand knowledge provided corroborating information to the intelligence community's Inspector General. Folks behind the scenes know something. And they have told the Inspector General, and that has been confirmed by Marco Rubio, the senator, Republican senator from Florida who serves on the Intelligence Committee. One theory for Grosh's allegations that the individuals he interviewed became convinced that decades-old myth and rumors of ultra-secret UFO retrieval and reverse engineering programs are true. However, given the significant penalty for making false statements to an Inspector General, it's extremely unlikely that multiple high-level, highly cleared officials would falsely claim to have first-hand knowledge of myths and rumors. They would want to be able to have their facts backed up. Rubio and Representative Mike Gallagher, a member of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, have stated that multiple individuals with first-hand knowledge of Grosh's allegations have spoken to Congress. Rubio puts it this way. Either what Grosh is saying is partially true or entirely true, or we have some really smart, educated people with high clearances and very important positions in our government who are crazy and are leading us on a wild goose chase. By the way, at some legal risk to themselves, I would add. Most of these people have held very high clearances and high positions within our government. So you ask yourself, what incentive would so many people with that kind of qualification, these are serious people, have to come forward and make something up? This leads to extraordinary possibilities. Grosh is correct, and that elements within and outside the U.S. government oversee a decades-old UFO retrieval program and reverse engineering effort, a profound paradigm-shifting development, or to quote Grosh, multiple esteemed and credentialed current and former government officials with a long-standing track record of legitimacy and service to this country are engaging in a brazen disinformation campaign. It's one of those two things. Look, we may find out that it's all a big joke. But the people who are saying this were in a position to know and have spoken to inspector generals, and now members of Congress are increasingly convinced that this is so. Now, you also have people within the government who say, no, I've never known anything about this, but that's exactly what they would say if they weren't cleared in to know. I don't know. I'd like to think that I keep an open mind on things, and I don't know how this is all going to play out. But I think we are increasingly close to having some really significant revelation about our government and the things they've been doing for many years. And Grush is a man who was to be taken seriously, not somebody to be dismissed, but most importantly, the high caliber of the people who are coming forward to say these things really gives it an air of credibility. So something is going on out there. I think we're about to find out what our government has known for a very long time, and it's going to be shocking. It's going to be shocking, but I think we're ready for whatever information we get. I mean, do you think anybody's going to come completely unglued at finding out that the truth is out there and that there was something going on?
Oh, sorry about that. You said those trigger
I said those words. And
yeah,
it's an automatic trigger. That's right.
Yeah.
Are we done? It's now 50 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk. I'm just surprised I didn't get the ack. Because, you usually give me one of those. Assisted family care, one of the hardest things we see as we grow older into adulthood is that our parents and loved ones are getting to an age where they are struggling with their day-to-day lives. It reminds us they're approaching an age when they will need more and more help every day because they're getting older. And this is where assisted family care can help. They can connect you with a responsible, compassionate, compatible helper to assist you and your loved ones with their daily needs. Now, here we go. If your loved one is a veteran or a spouse or a widow of a veteran, they could very well qualify for a little-known benefit to help cover these kinds of expenses. Assisted family care has years of helping those in Middle Tennessee who qualify to get access to the benefit. Now, veterans are eligible to receive up to 20 hours of daily living assistance each week at no cost to them. Not everyone is eligible, but if you're a veteran with wartime service, you may well qualify for the benefit for yourself or for your spouse. But the application process is daunting and confusing. But Assisted Family Care has years of experience in cutting through the red tape to make sure that if you're eligible, you can get this benefit. They say, listen, if you need help, Assisted Family Care can help you. Assisted Family Care will be there for you. Visit assistedfamilycare.com or call this number, 615-833-9725. Again, 615-833-9725.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies, and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.